All right, everyone, we're back with another week of the Legends of Runeterra League, brought to you by Aegis Esports. I'm Domcast, joined by once again TDS, the one and only. We're here to bring you some more action. What are you looking forward to, TDS? How are you feeling?
Another week goes by, last week before playoffs, so I'm excited to see what we're going to be getting because I don't know what to expect. Like at this point, obviously there's teams that have a set style or things that they really like to pull off. But there's still teams that try to experiment. And obviously
Mhm.
when looking at the next stage, looking at what is going to come, having something already kind of in your arsenal is always going to be great. So I'm excited to see if they bring something new or they just try and
Mhm.
stay and not show any kind of new things for the opponents later on.
Yeah, and you mentioned staying with it, changing, adapting. The most recent patch, which came out about a week ago now, came with a lot of nerfs, like a lot of nerfs. Like there
Yeah.
was nerfs all across the board, and a little buff sprinkled in there to try and see what happened to the meta. But it's almost completely mixed up. You have Ezreal and Seraphine still pretty popular, but we've seen Draven Jinx make a huge comeback. Feel the Rush is back on the board, so it's interesting. I'm
You
looking
know
forward
about
to see
that.
what they're bringing in. What did you say, TDS?
I was saying, you know about the Field of Rush, right?
Oh, I know all about the Field of Rush. The Field of Rush is, one of the classics, one of my preferred decks to play on ladder at least. But yeah, I mean, I think it's already exemplified in the decks that we're going to be covering in just a few seconds. Like the meta has totally shifted. Like at least from the ones we're covering, they're nothing like any of the other ones we've seen before, except for the fact that there's like Jace. Jace is the only thing that's similar from any deck that we've covered last week.
Pretty much.
Um, but that still is a totally unique playstyle, and I think this patch was definitely needed because both in Legends of Runeterra and in the league, we've seen a lot of like repetition, like Vayne constantly, Seraphine Ezreal constantly. There was a very little variation except for what different cards you could pair with Vayne or Seraphine.
It really felt like that. So like you're pointing out, being able to push through these sort of changes before important tournaments and before
Hmm.
important things to come through, I think was really nice as well. That it
Hmm.
also gave a good enough time frame. I think 1 week, maybe some would argue that is not enough, but I think 1 week is a good enough time to try and discover certain things that can be good, and it gives time for players to try and prep and try and find new things. So
Hmm.
all in all, I'm really glad that we did get this week to try and see what happens and what new champions ended up coming through, what new decks builds ended up coming through. So I'm really excited to see what they're bringing up. But like you were pointing out, we do have some decks that we can check and will check that are really interesting to see.
Yeah, and it starts with the Always Be Gaming Zon TDS, which is a TF Swain deck. And I forgot, were you covering this one, or do
Yeah,
you want me
no,
to
no,
cover it?
this is
Go for
mine.
it.
Yeah,
Go for it,
no,
TDS.
don't worry about it.
Sorry.
But the thing with this Twisted Fate Swain deck that we're seeing, we were seeing Swain coming up a little bit previously as well with some variations of the deck. I think this Twisted Fate one is, I think, to lock down even more on the opponent as possible, because you do have the Swain still to deal as much damage as possible towards the Nexus. You have a lot of just immediate damage that you can deal both to the Nexus and to player value. But all in all, I also like the addition of the Twisted Fate because having the opportunity to try and just mix up your impact on certain
Hmm.
cards can be really good. Like you have stun value, you have damage, and you also have ways to recover mana with the Twisted Fate. So even if your
Hmm.
main strategy is not to play with the Twisted Fate, you can utilize him effectively to try and play off what the
Hmm.
Swain brings and what the rest of the deck brings with a lot of his spells.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity here with this deck. Like you mentioned, the mana with the TF, or hitting a big red card on a wide board for some damage. And then Swain, I think, has been very underutilized since his little mini buff, probably about a month or so ago, when he now has Overwhelm on the level up, which just helps
Yeah.
push that passive that he has, that damage to the Nexus. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this deck, just because we haven't really seen Swain make that big of a statement since his buff.
We saw just a little bit of it.
Hmm.
So, like you're pointing out, the fact that we're finally getting more variations into it, and I'm expecting to see more people trying to not dump, but like add more hours into what Swain
Hmm.
is capable of. Because I think
Hmm.
I think there's still some other decks out there that
Hmm.
could beneficiate out with the Swain, and I'm really excited
Yeah.
to see how it performs today.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see where this goes, because a long time ago it was like a Swain Sejuani deck. You could also see a Swain GP if you want to keep with the Bilgewater. The opportunity there is very, very diverse and valuable, I think. including Swain now that he's been buffed. But we'll cover the other deck first before we continue our talk of things to be or will be, which is going to be Ace from the Castaways with the Jace Lux deck. So the idea here is you cast a bunch of big expensive spells with Jace. Jace doubles them. You get some extra final sparks from a Lux. And along with that, you as always have the cheap board clear, cheap units between Piltover and Zon and Demacia. You see the Mage Secret Persuader in there, the Petrocite Broadwing. You're running Demacia, you're running the Petrocite Broadwing. Always got to have it. Vanguard Sergeant doubling as an effective unit and also a 6-cost spell generation. Very, very, very powerful deck. Very good synergy, I think, between the two champions that push for an easy win condition, either individually on their own or with combination in the other champion. Not really much else to talk about here. Pretty standard stuff. As far as
Yeah.
units and spells go. Just focusing on keeping the board alive, keeping control of the board, and then eventually pushing for the win with those big spells.
And it's a pretty interesting deck because in my eyes this is a deck that obviously takes up with a lot of value from the spells, but compared to other spell focused decks or decks that are much more directly valuable depending on what spells you're running and how much you're able to utilize the spells, they don't fall short with followers. They have a lot of unit value and a lot of spell
Yeah,
value that can
exactly.
be quite consistent together.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a very very important thing to bring up because in conjunction with the good followers, the spells are all very 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 expensive. We see 4 different spells here with about eight total spells that cost 6 or more. That's a
Yeah.
lot of mana. That's a ton of mana to be having to like conserve and be able to spend. And that being said, those spells also include unit summoning. We see assembly line that summons 2/3/3 units for 6 mana, so that can be very very useful if you're falling a little bit behind. You can bust the assembly line out, count that towards the Jace or the Lux ability, while also filling your board back up again. Aloof Travelers is also there to make sure that no one else is busting out a huge spell on you before you can bust out your own huge spells. The only thing I could think is like maybe a little more Aloof Travelers because that card can be very 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 powerful.
It's a small adaptation that certainly could take a bit more value to the deck, but it is the kind of deck that you really don't need to change a lot of things. You change 1 or 2 cards and it still feels quite good.
Hmm.
And I think that's a pretty important
Yeah.
kind of deck to have because it's consistent and it's
Hmm.
also a deck that not a lot of players want to play against because you
Hmm.
have
Exactly.
so many ways of, or not necessarily so many ways of winning, but your win conditions are always something that you can achieve in a lot of different
Exactly.
manners.
Exactly. And aside from that, like both of these decks are pretty interesting. We are going to be covering Ace or not Ace, excuse me, the Castaways versus Always Be Gaming Zon as our first matchup. And in those matchups, we could be seeing some pretty interesting stuff. Ash LeBlanc is back. Ash LeBlanc, something that we've seen with the changes in the most recent patch.
Yeah.
Elise Gwen Katarina still hanging around. Pantheon Varus also still here. But it should be interesting. The only thing that has continued since last week really is the Pantheon Varus, and that should be pretty much it. I mean, it should be an exciting time to find out who is going to be playing against who in this matchup. I think we're still waiting for confirmation of
Yeah, it
the
should
the
be soon enough.
lineups. Um,
We're jumping in. So we do have our
oh,
first
there it is.
matchup. Yeah.
Juju
It-
from Castaways versus K Felt from Always Be Gaming Zon.
so good thing is we do have a chance to potentially see the Swain TF as well as
Mhm.
Ash LeBlanc if there is an opportunity for that. But I want to point a little bit towards Juju because we were talking about the potential from certain decks and all that. Diana Leone is one that catches my eyes immediately. It's not a deck that I've seen that typically, and I kind of find it interesting as the power level that it may present.
Mhm. No, I think that's a good thing to bring up because um it is pretty powerful.
Did Andy get caught?
You there? TS, you
Oh,
there?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought somebody went off.
Oh no, but yeah, I think this is an interesting line. Now, Diana Leona, definitely an interesting deck. I'm actually looking at the deck list right now. I was pulling it up because that is a deck that has not been seen for a very, very long time, and it's
Yeah.
using some interesting newer cards that came out this expansion with the Twilight Protector, which is give if it's Daybreak, give Daybreak allies 1/1. If it's Nightfall, give Nightfall allies +1. The Moonlit Glenkeeper, when you summon an ephemeral, grant it +1. Is that enough to really update and buff this deck? The Winding Light is always super powerful, such a good closeout card. Um, but is there still enough here because it isn't always the strongest deck. The Nightfall and the Daybreak. Daybreak obviously an inherently more powerful keyword than Nightfall since Daybreak supposedly, theoretically, only procs once, whereas Nightfall is any card after your first. Now, I say theoretically because if you are able to get the Ravun out, then every card is a Daybreak card.
Yeah.
But Nightfall always has been like that sort of lackluster ability, just because of its ability to be proc like consistently. And then we have the Sun Guardian, which was most recently changed to, instead of being overwhelmed +4/+4 on Daybreak, it's now a much cheaper card at 3 cost, starts at 2/3 and gains 1/1 when you activate a Daybreak. So that card is sort of like the Fey Blade Twirler, or what have you from your different regions of it sits on the board, gets super super strong, and if you don't have a method of dealing with it, then it will end the game on you.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what the combination is going for, as we see the bans come through. Ash LeBlanc taken away from Kfel, and the Gwen Katarina Elise taken away from Juju. So yeah, I think we're kind of seeing it here. The Diana Leona is definitely the question mark from Juju. That is like a huge, is that deck actually good enough to win? And then the Vayne Fiora Quinn is sort of just like oh, I can take a win at least on this deck with one of mine, or I'll beat Diana Leona twice.
I'm kind of thinking if the Diana Leona is in some way tried to be directed against
Mm-hmm.
Pantheon Barriers specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But there is two players that were running Pantheon Barriers on the side of Always Be Gaming, and this is the only Diana. There's actually two Diana Leona's decks on the
Mm-hmm.
Castaways. So maybe it was in preparation potentially for particularly the Pantheon Barriers that I think a lot of teams do run it still.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's the case, it could be an interesting potential matchup that not a lot of people were expecting. But like you're pointing out, it is still just conjecture. I'm not sure what to
Mm-hmm.
expect of this Diana Leona. Like I can understand if there's better cards now to try and put more power to the deck, but I'm not sure if it's still enough to really make it
Mm-hmm.
jump that high in my eyes.
Right. Yeah, and like part of it is sort of just like the Nightfall units are just so lackluster on their own, but the Daybreak units, the Solaris, are very, very powerful. So
Yeah.
maybe that is sort of the angle, just like play through Solari, and then the Nightfall is just an afterthought, except for the Winding Light, because that is going to be how you win the game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here
Yeah,
as
it's all on how you also set up, right? Because
Mhm.
we were talking about how the Fiora Bane Queen is going to be kind of your pretty sure win in the eyes of many. Like this
Mhm.
is the deck that you win with, and
Mhm.
then with which deck can you take the win with the Diana Leona? It's kind of the main
Mhm.
question here because Kfeld has two decks that I think are powerful enough that he should be comfortable if he goes for either and can win with either. But
Mhm.
it's more on Juju's side on which deck he wins with against the Diana Leona.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely going to be rough, and I'm curious to see which deck each player will lead off with, because the Swain TF and the Pantheon Varus don't fare too well into the Fiora Vayne Quinn, just because the the status of like unrelenting attacks, just constantly
Yeah.
constantly rallying with your tumbles and such. But yeah, if the Fiora can find a good line, then the Fiora should be able to end the game fairly handily it's able to kill a couple of weak units from the Pantheon Varus before they're able to set up or not get board cleared by the TF Swain deck, which is arguably a lot harder to do, but it's definitely going to be rough.
It's going to be a pretty interesting match and seeing how it develops
Hmm.
because I think that we're confident in a lot of the in a lot of in a lot of the potential from the Bane that we're bound to see, but it's more so on what the rest is going to be expected
Hmm.
as we are getting into game for the Fiora Bane Queen against the TF Swain. Interesting that it's starting with this one. I thought it was going to be Pantheon Barracks at the start of it.
Hmm. I don't think K Felt's too worried about the order that they play the decks in because they both do similarly well in terms of like pacing. Uh, just which win are you getting first is the is the question for K Felt. Juju though on the other hand with a pretty good starting hand. They got the Petrosite Broadwing out early with no blocker from K Felt. K Felt actually pulling 3 Ravenous Flocks and a Death's Hand, unable to do really anything about this.
That's a great start if you're able to survive long enough because you already
Yeah.
have so much potential damage in your hand, but you need to
Hmm.
have the potential survival as well. Like you
Hmm.
have to survive.
No, exactly. And the Piltover and Castaway coming out now, going for the Pot of Pain. Definitely a strong equipment here. It's still just more spells for K-Fel. Actually, so unfortunate.
Has to, I think at this point has to maybe try and go for something just to have board presence, anything, and then you can begin trying to see if you can set up
Hmm.
anything else.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you go for the Arachnoid Sentry and stun the Castaway, and try and bait the yeah. Oh, I was gonna say bait the Broadwing into to blocking, because clearing the Challenger is definitely gonna be an important ability later on to not have to worry about something being taken away. But I guess we could also just
Okay.
use one of our 3 Ravenous Flocks. you know, Gotta
Yeah, it's
use them
still
or lose
clearing it.
them. Yeah, still clearing it, and potentially, I think you just push the attack here. No matter what.
Well, taking units from Yu is more valuable than you having more units. Like the only reason that you would want to have more units than Yu is simply because you think that you need to survive longer. But realistically,
Hmm.
as long as both are zero, it affects you less than it affects Yu.
Does it though? Because you need to push some damage with the K-Feld's deck.
But
I know.
I mean mainly for Juju because I mean mainly because Juju needs to force the attacks with the
Hmm.
units. Like it's not the
Yeah.
same case for K-Belt. But I
Hmm.
do get what you were going for.
No, I understand. Yeah, no, it makes sense because K-Felt eventually will have the Swain leveled up just through damaging with spells, whereas Juju has to attack, has to get damage to the Nexus. So I definitely see that. It's gonna be interesting though here with a full board, and I don't think I would actually even risk the Vayne attacking, which is the only thing to do because you know you're playing against a Noxus deck. You know that this deck has so much clear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you just
like you're pointing out, it's much safer to just opt into keeping the vein
mhm.
as much as possible.
Yeah, and if you could have gotten like the quick attack ability or the quick attack equipment on the Castaway, that would have been way better for Vayne, just so you could attack with Vayne and keep it alive, or
Yeah.
not risk damage and then further clear from like uh a, a scorched earth or a ravenous flock. But oh no, dang, the high roll from K Felt targeting the Vayne in the back line, opening that up to a good deal of clear now that you have a wounded card.
Yeah, that is a pretty good attempt at now being able to harm this vein as much as possible. It's still that like Juju still has volume in the hand, but it's
Hmm.
not something that you can deal with at this point from Kfield as well, because Kfield has the two Ravenous Flux still.
Hmm. Yeah, and pulling the Zap Spray Fin, gonna draw another something to be used to clear the board. Um, but now we're sort of stalling out for Juju. I think if you lose this vein, you have granted another one in hand, but you still need to hit that level up so you have the free tumbles, and you still need to find another one of your main cards. You need to find like the Quinn, find the Fiora, so that you can have these win conditions on the board.
Yeah, feels like this state where the game is not progressing fast enough, or even
Hmm.
just forcing it fast enough, is more damaging for Juju than it is for K-Belt. Because Juju is the
Hmm.
one that needs to push the issue. K-Belt can
Hmm.
just wait.
Right, and now we're seeing the tumble being used. It has to be a Ravenous Flock answer. Deny that attack from Juju. And yeah, there's the
Yep.
Ravenous Flock being used.
And surprisingly.
Unsurprisingly, it's kind of crazy how easily we predicted that. But no, that's definitely the smartest play because so waiting for the tumble to come out guarantees the tumble gets consumed and no attack goes through. Um,
Those who kill innocents are
and
no
here's the other
heroes.
vein.
There's no tumble potential here, so you bought yourself another turn. Like, this is perfect for K-Belt. But I still
Hmm.
think that every turn that you're making longer, or that you're taking longer for Juju to
Hmm.
be able to deal a huge attack, it's fine for you. This is
Right.
going to be a big attack, though. Like, this can be a big attack.
Yeah. No, this will be pretty big, this actually, because the Harpy with Scout will attack, likely see the disintegrate answer from K-Felt, disintegrate into Spiderling blocker, which
Yeah.
will trigger the revive of the Harpy, which means, you've lost that ability, you've lost the impact, but your Harpy is still alive, you still have something to attack with now. There's not really much for K-Felt to do besides play the Watchful Idol.
Which, adding onto the board is not necessarily bad, but yeah.
Mm. Might as well make sure you have the spells to uh clear this Harpy. Interesting.
Didn't go full on trying to deny the Harpy, which maybe thinking for a next attack, much more so
Hmm.
this time.
But now the question is, how do you clear the Harpy besides,
Yeah,
like, would
no.
it not have been better to just use it to disintegrate?
Feels like it wouldn't be it would have been a good option. Maybe it's opting into it. No, it's not. From what I've seen.
This is the Scorched Earth.
Yeah, no.
Wait. Why wouldn't you just disintegrate when you're blocking with the? It's not even dead now.
Interesting decision. Scorched Earth than for the Harpy in that sense.
It's not even dead. What are we waiting for?
Yeah, like, do you wait? What exactly were you waiting for that at that point? Like, it's just simply better to take it away, no?
Mhm. Exactly. And here we see the Harpy attack. Harpy will trade. And then this could be the level up, actually. Depending on what comes out here. The Arachnoid Sentry denying the attack from Vayne. How do you get the attack off without... Yeah, here comes the Ravenous Flock. Is going to kill the Vayne and reset the countdown. Reset the level up.
Hey, that's good, actually.
Good for K-Felt.
Yeah, exactly. Good for K-Field in the sense that you didn't now the vein, and you also stopped the attack damage that you were worried about.
Hmm. Oh, here we go. The Fixum 5000. There we go. There we go. That's what you needed if you were Juju. You needed that equipment like 2 turns ago, so you could attack with the Vayne without worrying. Excuse me, about damage and then
Yeah.
subsequent clear from the Scorched Earth of the flocks. But the good thing for Juju is now you've now seen all 3 Ravenous Flocks. There are no more Ravenous Flocks at least, and there are no more Scorched Earth. I think there's only 1 Scorched Earth in the deck list for K-Felt for the Swain TF.
Pretty sure yes.
So that's a lot of clear that's been consumed already. Yeah, only 1 Scorched Earth, all 3 Ravenous Flocks consumed. So technically you're pretty safe. Now,
True, at least that's a big positive that you can take away. Like, there's no chance that my next Bane dies because there's no anymore like that.
yeah. Yeah, your next Vayne or one of your, 2 Quins or your only Fiora. Way less clear to worry about. Way safer. Now, that that does lead us to another problem for Juju, which is Juju needs to pull that card.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Juju needs
you're
to pull that
essentially
card.
in where you're forced to either get it or you're not going to be able to do much.
Yeah. Needs to pull the champion, needs to pull something, because these fish fight won't be doing too much.
Well, at least denying the Twisted Fate is not a bad option. Takes him a little bit longer.
Yeah, but it's not actually going to deny the TF because of this Death's Hand. And you need to like be able to clear the Swain when the eventual Swain comes out. Because that's going to be what really pushes K-Felt over the edge. Not that K-Felt even needs it right now, because they are in a better position in terms of board.
They
Now
are, but at the same time, the Swain is like it feels like the Swain is kind of faded because it is taking a bit too much from Kayfield, and he's not with that many cards anyway on hand.
Mm-hmm. Now, good thing for Juju, they've pulled their second Harpy with the quick attack equipment in hand, which means they have a quick attack scout card. So
That is good.
oof. Oof.
These are important denies that Kayfield is getting.
Yeah, but these are important denies, but
But it's a
now
hope
there's
too.
just even more. And now, what could have happened is Juju could have like accepted the free attack and blocked with the 1/1 tentacle, but then waited for another card to drop so that it could use the disintegrate and the make it rain at the same time. And now we see the Leviathan in K-Felt's hand, so it is very much nearing the end for Juju. The Leviathan drops this turn, the Swain drops next turn. Swain potentially gets cleared by the fish fight, unless something else comes out that can work with the disintegrate to kill this Harpy. But Swain is dropped next turn.
Yeah. But it has been good survivability or survival by Cable. Like he has taken every fight that he has gone and has survived long enough. The Leviathan is going to be traded. But wouldn't you like to wait that for Swain, no? Or is...
I mean, you need to get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
They both need to go away. What? Oh, Cataclysm. Wait, but 2 Swains.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait.
I was going to
Wait. So playing the Zaps Rayfin was Super Troll, potentially. Yeah, it was Super Troll. Playing the Zaps Rayfin was Super Troll. Getting the draw was useful, but now you've played one of your Swains. You can no longer use Disintegrate to save the Swain from the Harpy. You're gonna see the Make It Rain comes out, but there's not enough mana for Disintegrate, which is going to not consume the quick attack from the Harpy. Well, it will consume the quick attack from the Harpy with the Ravenous Flock, but you're using a Ravenous Flock to save the Swain when you could have just.
But it saves the Swain.
Barely.
And the thing is, it does save it.
It's still dead. Okay, never mind.
Okay, no, yeah.
I forgot the Harpy was only a 6/4. All right, never mind. I take it back. I take it back.
See,
I take
everything
it
works
back.
out at the end for K-pop.
I'm too tired. Too tired for this. Not doing math correctly. Too much going on. But no, K-Felt taking the first game between Always Be Gaming Zon and the Castaways, taking down Juju in a pretty close game, actually. It was very, very tight. Very, very back and forth in terms of pacing and tempo. But with that, I can give you guys at the back side of the screen another update. Ace is 1-1 with Walkabout, and Samson is 1-0 with NP, which means that we are pretty close, I think. Hold on.
3-1?
Samson? It's 2-2.
Oh,
Oh no, it's
it's 1, no?
no, it's two. Wait, 1-1. So Ace Walkabout's 1-1. So that's 1-1 for both teams. Samson's 1-0 NP, so it's 2-1 Castaways, and then K Felt's it's 2-2. It's 2-2. I knew I
Okay,
was
it's
2-2.
2.
I knew I was
Yeah.
right. 2-2. Yeah. So it's tie game right now between both teams. No one has won their set just yet. Between any player from Always Be Gaming On and the Castaways. As we get into the second match, we're gonna see the run back from Juju and the Pantheon Varus from K Felt with the strong start of the Saga Seeker and the Lodestone and the Lunari gem creation. So definitely a very, very good start for K-Phil. But Juju also looking pretty strong here with the Fleet Feather into the Castaway Vein and the Harpy. So the only thing that's really missing from Juju is targeted spells for clear, like a Cataclysm maybe, or Concerted Strike or something.
It is kind of the main thing to try and have for when the Pantheon comes in or the Varus. But I do like the hand right now for you. Like it has a lot of unit value, and having that Bane as well to be able to begin leveling up as soon as possible is going to be so nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
True power eclipses
Yeah,
both
exactly.
day
And the
night.
Lunari cult is hitting now, getting even more gems into the board for K-Felt. Like, this Saga Seeker is going to be so big. Actually, is going to be a huge Saga Seeker, I think, before it can really even be cleared. Like, we're going to see potentially, potentially the, 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 why can't I think of it?
Demons walk
Oh,
among
okay,
us
never
as
mind. I was going to say,
rare as
I
men.
think we'll see the two cost equipment be used on like the Forge Chief or the Fleet Feather to try and block the Saga Seeker, but no, we're gonna see neither of that. Now the Saga Seeker is gonna go to 5-4, which is a pretty big
It's a strong
attacker.
Saga Seeker.
Yeah, he is a strong Saga Seeker. He's already halfway through the book in terms of his power growth. And wow, no attack actually. That's interesting. I was certain
What
it
would
would
you be
attack.
worried about if you were on the side of Keyfeld in the hand of Juju? Because I think that this is
Like
one of your best opportunities to attack, no?
nothing. There was nothing that you were afraid of. There was one mana for Juju, and there's
Yeah.
I don't think anything that's one mana in that whole deck, except for Catch. But Catch doesn't really give an ally 1/1 or equip it with an equipment. Okay, so maybe Catch, but like Catch still doesn't push anything into lethal range of your Saga Seeker.
It's a pretty interesting decision not opting into attack, but maybe just trying to keep it as healthy as possible. Like not even taking any traits, not even taking any
Hmm.
damage, just keeping it as healthy as possible to maybe force into a bigger attack later on.
Yeah, that's fair. As we see the Darkened Harp getting used on the Fleet Feather, it's not gonna change anything. Like there's still Pal Cascade in hand for K-Felt. K-Felt's super
Yep.
super fine with really whatever happens because now we're going to see a 7/5 Saga Seeker that's going to 6 or 8/6 if it needs to live through uh this Fleet Feather attack. And I
Okay.
think the weirdest part of all of this is using the quick attack on the Fleet Feather when you have Fiora in hand. Like you have the Fiora, you know that you want something like quick attack on her so that she's more capable of proccing her game-winning ability?
If we hesitate, we die.
Like, how
And
what
I'm
are you expecting to kill your Fleet Feather now from K-Felt?
The only thing would be to have that like a sort of unit that is able to take out most of the small units that you're not worried about, and then
Mm,
utilize the bigger attacks with the rest. Like that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to look for this Fleet Fighter, because honestly, I'm like you. Like I would have thought more like the Fiora should be the
yeah,
point.
because like the Fiora is the direct game winning ability. Like there is nothing that is more direct to win the game that's not like a Starf Spring or a Bandletree. And you want those weak units.
closely at
You
the
want them to
eye.
stay on the board. You want them to be alive so that the Fiora has really, really simple targets to go after. Like you don't want to have to challenge a 7/5 Saga Seeker with your 6/4 Fiora because a faded proc in a Cal Cascade, and that's too healthy. You have to make up for with something.
It still does keep the Saga Seeker there, so you're kind
Hmm.
of still having that super huge unit
Hmm.
there in the field. Like you can play off with that pretty effectively.
Oh, and the Furious Wielder being used
That is a
now.
nice. That is a good play.
Yeah, clearing the
Destroying
vein.
the vein, yeah. They're
Now,
similar. Or
now that does leave K-Felt in an interesting position. This should be pretty close to the Pantheon level up, but do you
Always two
attack?
steps ahead.
I don't think you attack with the Saga Seeker anymore. Because I was going to mention, like, oh, maybe if you pass as Juju, K-Felt gets baited into an attack and, uses the Saga Seeker and allows you the opportunity to put the Darkened Heart back into hand.
another
But
harpy.
another Harpy.
But I do think that passing the previous turn is okay for Kefeld. Like I don't think he needs to force the attack, even less with the Fiora. But I don't think he needs to force the attack just yet, because he also
Hmm.
has the Pantheon in hand. Like he has a lot of utility and has a Pantheon ready to be put out. So this
Yeah.
harpy is strong.
Yeah, these Harpies are pretty tough. Oh, that's interesting.
And here comes the Pantheon level up.
Now, what does the Pantheon get? What's he doing? Regeneration, quick attack, challenger, spell shield. Wow. Not much else you really need here. And then there we see the unending wave pulled up in hand, which is pretty convenient for, getting draw and then also like just having cards to use.
Like the next attack, like I like the way that Juju opted into attack and forcing out for more support value. But
Hmm.
even then, I'm just feeling like Kfield has so much power, like so
Hmm.
much more power potential here.
Well, yeah, and it's partially like they have KFL just has the bigger units. Like,
Yeah,
what do you look for to kill with your Fiora when you don't have the quick attack, you don't have the boosted damage, and you don't have like barrier or anything else to keep the Fiora alive?
you sure Fiora dies before she even kills anything at this point.
Well, there is not really any clear from KFL. They have the unending wave, so they could look to draw a Furious Wielder next
A
turn.
worthy
But
opponent.
like it still just leads back to like how are you pushing the win when KFL is already so set up?
They pass on the attack as well. Do you set up another harpy at this point, as usual, to try and maybe bolster your attack?
Well, I think what KFL was like doing when not attacking is like literally just denying the damage onto the Saga Seeker, and then also
Which is smart.
denying the quick attack equipment going back into Juju's hand. Because as long as it's on the Fleet
Okay.
Feather, the Fiora is like kind of useless.
Yeah, that's actually a really important thing that you're bringing up. The equipment not being able to be reused. I think it's actually
Until the
quite
unit
important.
dies. till the unit dies. Now, maybe Juju is worried about some method of saving the Fiora in hand, but you have quick attack, you have 7 power, and then okay, well, there is no way the Fiora lives. If you've gone through the trouble of looking through the deck list of Juju, you know that with Spell Shield and Quick Attack, there is absolutely nothing that can be done to save that Fiora. So you're just gonna challenge that with your Pantheon, but probably should have been done before Juju was allowed to rally with the Dumble and the Scout unit.
Would have been the most optimal, maybe. Yeah, I don't think you want to trade your Sega Secret at all, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think
Well,
that.
actually, yeah, Pale Cascade, yeah.
Yeah, there
True.
is the Pell Cascade. But I was gonna say, yeah, I don't think you want to trade anything right now.
I mean, it's not like you even needed to trade anything. Yeah, so yeah, the Pale Cascade was used, but there was even not even any need to do it that at that point. Still an 11-2, the Saga Secret that you're playing with, and you have still so much value in hand.
Now, okay, all right. I like this. I like this actually a lot. 'Cause I was going to mention like you kind of have to kill the Harpy right now because the Fiora isn't going to want to block.
Yeah.
But if you pull the Fiora, then I think Juju is more than happy to trade anything into that Saga Seeker, and now we're gonna get the quick attack recycled back into Juju's hand, going back onto the Fiora, and the Fiora is gonna kill the Pantheon now because there's nothing protecting it.
Having that, yeah, like the Fiora now. Actually, the Fiora now is going to be a pretty a threat for this Pantheon.
Yeah. Yeah, actually not attacking before Juju got the rally off with the Tumble Scout would have been the actual correct choice. Which, this is bad. This is bad, and it would be worse if K-Felt didn't have Healess Resurrection in hand. This is bad, and it would be worse.
What a good attack coming in from Juju. And all of that based on the fact that the Saga Seeker, or on the fact that Gable didn't attack when he had a pretty good chance of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fiora just was able to Juju was able to reutilize this Fiora as effectively as possible.
Mm-hmm. And now they just open attack again.
Yep.
And that's it. Like I don't think there's. You have to pull the double Frostbite card for K-Fall if you want to have some chance of winning, but sheesh. That turned around very, very quickly for Juju and K-Fall. That was looking very dire, I think, if you were Juju, but able to turn it back around, which leads me to the next segment or statement, which is Samson has 2-0'd NP never punished. So that means it's 1 win for all or the Castaways, and then Walkabout has taken down Ace 2-1. So it is 1-1 between Always Be Gaming Zon and the Castaways in terms of like set score, which
But
means
it's
that
in favor of the Castaways.
Hmm?
But it's in favor of the Castaways.
No,
Because of the 2-0.
Well, it is in favor of the Castaways in terms of that, but in terms of who wins like between the two teams tonight
It's
is
dependent on
this match right here.
Yeah, exactly dependent on this. And we're going to get to see the Diana Leona, so really glad on that as well.
Yeah, and speaking of the Diana Leona, of a opening hand for Juju, I think this is a very, very strong one because it has the Solari turn 1, and then it has the Lunari Priestess also for this drop. Because you don't want to use this owl just yet because of the potential for the double proc, and also it kind of just needs other units to be on the board for it to be good. Because it is give Daybreak allies 1-1 this round or give Nightfall allies 1-0 permanently. So you definitely want to wait until there's a lot more on the board. Now, the other cards though, like the Sun Guardian, very, very important to have out early because you want to proc a bunch of daybreaks, grow that thing to a huge number, and then eventually win the game through hopefully the winding light, and if not that, just having a huge attacker.
Well, the more daybreaks you have, it just makes the deck feel more consistently better. So certainly you want to try and proc them out as soon as possible. But I also think that even though it feels like the stronger part of the deck should be, and I'm pretty sure it's bound to be the daybreak part of the deck as well. I think that there is value in having the nightfall as well, just because I think that there's certain cards that having that extra there to potentiate the deck. I think that's a word. I'm going to use it. It's going to work out.
Yeah. No, the Nightfall is obviously has value. The only issue is that it never feels as good as Daybreak just because of the nature of the abilities. Now, I think you eat the 4 damage here as Juju and trade out the 2/2s, but again, you also have to assume that there are ways to keep the Saga Seeker alive, which means neither of your cards live. So it's a rough decision to make. Bad day here at the office for Juju in this matchup. And oh wow, just eats all 6 of it. So that's actually a really smart play because it denies the opportunity for any response from Kfil to buff those cards again. Because if you commit a blocker that gives Kfil the opportunity to respond, whereas if you just let the 6 damage through, that's it. It's 6 damage. But if you committed the Solari to block one or the other, there's 3 momentous choices in hand for Kfil. That's 6 damage that it could have given to one of the other cards that was not blocked.
Yeah, I think that taking the damage in this position is not necessarily the worst. So I really liked the option that Juju opted into, and now has even set up for maybe attacking Kfil a little bit.
Yeah. Now, the only problem I think I have with Juju attacking next turn is that exactly like this one Saga Series that has been left on the board is already up to a 4/4. Next turn it could very easily go to 5/5 and clear out the Sun Guardian. But that's why the Leona was also very nice because having it turn 1, that you can go into this turn with the drop with the stun. And from our perspective, we see that Kfil has no answer for this besides the unending wave, which has to be used to look for a unit. But there is no unit. There's only the frostbite, which will be useful, of course.
But not in this situation.
Not the no, it'll be very useful here. It'll deny
No, I mean
damage.
not in this one. In this one to stop it. That's what I mean. But certainly, at least having the frostbite could have been really good in the first game, but it's still useful here to try and stop some of the better amount of damage that was bound to come through, and you just take the 2 damage here, which is fine.
Yeah, no, it's a very easy trade to make if you're Kfil. You lost whatever that 2-cost card was in hand that was fleeting, but you saved 9 damage from your Nexus after just getting 6 down onto your opponent, so a worth trade.
Here does come the Barris though, something that we didn't get the previous game. We did get the Pantheon, not the Barris. So this time around maybe changes up a little bit more of the dynamics, but I think that Kfil probably wants to get more, so he's having more stack damage onto that Saga Seeker.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good point. I'm just trying to think. Kfil has a lot of good abilities in their hand, but Juju definitely has the setup in terms of the Guardian being on board, Leona being on board, having these other cards in hand like the Heavens Aligned, the Unspeakable Horror, the Twilight Protector. All these cards should be pretty powerful. No, okay, going for the Twilight Protector here.
Adding more value to the board and also more value to certain units. I really like this option from Yu. Actually just buffing himself up. I really like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a pretty big moment for Juju, actually.
The sun's splendor revealed.
Oh, hello? Hello?
Hmm?
All right.
Are you back?
No, I was saying like no, this is actually a huge moment for Juju, especially because of the double stun here, as and K-Felt has to use another unending wave to try and pull a single unit, and they found the Pantheons, they found the barrier, but that just means that the Pantheon's gonna get like challenged by the Leona. Neither of them are going to have anything happen, and that's just going to be 18 damage that has no
Yep.
response. You can silence the Guardian. You can silence the Guardian. Here it comes, hush. Silence the Guardian. But that's it. That's still not enough. It's still perfect lethal.
So, like, the silence actually was coming through to maybe save the day, but it's not enough. And that is Juju winning the match 2-1. What a turnaround. The Diana Leona deck ended up being really nicely set up at the end to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think, it was definitely interesting to watch. Like, I was not expecting it to do that well. And, granted, K-Felt had, like, let's just being 100% honest, like an awful pull. A terrible,
Yeah.
terrible hand. But Juju never felt like at any point behind. Like, it was just always, playing exactly what you needed, like busting out the daybreaks, buffing up the Guardian, and then, eventually hitting, a double stun round to end the game, which was very, very convenient, and pulling out the win, which is what their team needed. Juju's
Yep.
Castaways was 1-1 in terms of sets, but now it's going to be 2-1. So they've technically won. They've technically beat the Always Be Gaming Zon tonight. Congratulations. I think that was a really, really well played series. Taking a loss in the first game and then coming back, winning back to back with both decks. Definitely a well played series from both players. What are you thinking, TDS? What are your thoughts on this series?
Like, the overall matchups that we saw between Juju and Kfield were really entertaining. I think that Kfield had it, like, in all honesty, to me, I thought that it was going to be a 2-0.
Hmm.
Like, the second game, it was really the difference of a really small margin between Kfield being able to win it out or Juju being able to remote. And at the end, Juju is able to come back and turn around. But I think
Hmm.
that it was really, really close. And it really just could have been the 2-0 for K-Pop. So overall, I'm glad that we saw this matchup. I hope that we can see more of K-Pop later on as
Hmm.
well, and more from this team as well.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations to the Castaways. We're going to be taking a brief intermission while we get set up for the next series tonight. Stick right there, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, TDS. We're here with more Aegis Esports Legends of Runeterra action. I'm Domcast, joined by TDS, obviously. We're still here, we're still kicking it. We're going over through Des Moines Gaming, Des Moines Damage, and RPG, or Red Pup Gamers, Scarlet.
RPG.
RPG, yeah. RPG.
RPG.
Trying to make sure everyone understood it's Red Pup Gamers RPG, not some other RPG. Yeah, no, we just came back from Castaways versus Always Be Gaming Zon, and Castaways came out clutch. Juju pulling through for the team, getting that final win that they needed. But this is very important, TDS. I've said it before. I've said it I'll say it again. Every game counts. Every game is important. Every game needs to be a win today more than ever, especially for Des Moines, because they are sitting at 4th out of 5. Now, I'm not sure about the cutoffs, but they gotta win. They gotta win everything. They gotta not be 4th after tonight. Now,
Would be
RPG, Red
ideal.
Pup,
Would be ideal that they get
would be
the
ideal. Would be ideal. But Red Pup Games, they're at the top. They're at the top. They're winning. They're going through easy, but they don't want to fall. They don't want to not be first. So it's important for both teams, but especially for Des Moines. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think we have some even more exciting deck lists from both teams as we get into the very first one, TDS with the Annie TF. You already covered the other TF deck. How about you cover this one too?
I got both TFs. I like playing TFs, so I'm fine with going for the TF decks. And this deck, to me at least, feels relatively similar in the sense that you have good follower amount and good spell amount, but you're really playing off of what you can accomplish with the spells against directly the opponent. Not the Nexus, not the health bar, but directly against the opponent. You're trying to stop them from gaining as much units as possible. You want them to prolong the game as long as possible because you want to play off of your Ravenbloom Conservatory as well. Like you have the value of the landmark, you want to play it off effectively, and you also have the Annie that can destroy a lot of the units just pretty much immediately. So these things combined makes me think that you want to not only try and attack the opponent, but really just don't allow for him to have any opportunities inside of the field. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Interesting. All right, so you're kind of stalling out, waiting for that tie block to hit and hit different. Definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting deck. I'm assuming the deck is something about going Tybok into a Riptide Rex to end the game. No, very, very interesting. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. Especially just because, we haven't really seen a lot of these types of decks. We've seen Burn, we've seen huge combo, we've seen super, super buff cards, but we haven't really seen a lot of this. So I'm glad that we're seeing some stuff, what we've been talking about all night, basically with the total meta mix-up that we've seen. Now, speaking of meta mix-up, we're going back. We're going old school, and by old school I mean like mid-July, because we're back with the Sivir Kai'Sa, back with the Voidlings, back with the Merciless Hunter, the Void Blaster, the Void Abomination. We're looking to summon a bunch of random keywords, and then we're looking to kill the enemy team. And what is so convenient about having Sivir on the board is that you're already doing a ton of damage. If you're able to drop Sivir and have Kai'Sa on the board and have a Kai'Sa spell in hand, Supercharge I think is super underrated. Spell Shield Overwhelm, so strong, especially for Sivir. But that being said, you also have the Swinging Glade, the Darkened Aegis, Petrosite Broadwing, the classics. Darkened Aegis and Petrosite Broadwing, the classics. Swinging Glaive is something that we saw come out just recently, and I think it's super, super powerful. I think having the ability to generate Lucky Finds is so convenient, not only to level up Kai'Sa, but Lucky Finds are just strong in general. You have a random keyword, a +2 buff, a +1/1 buff, all that fun stuff, and then all in all, just a strong deck. Very, very straightforward. Play strong cards, play Kai'Sa, Kai'Sa gets strong, and then win the game.
Yeah, I think it pretty much goes to the point, and I like the Sivir Kai'Sa. Obviously, we already knew that we were expecting what we were going to get when we saw what the Sivir Kai'Sa more than likely is going to try and accomplish. But all in all, I think that it's just a really good deck to try and play if you want to be aggressive in certain situations. Obviously, not from the get go, but you can get yourself set up really nicely. And I think that the value as well from just the followers, apart from Kai'Sa and Sivir, is not that bad. Like, I think you have a lot of board presence value that you can get.
Yeah, I think it's really convenient. I mean, all of these units are fairly strong. Like the Green Glade Warden has barrier on drop. The Merciless Hunter grants an enemy vulnerable and has fearsome, so it still counts towards that Kaisa level up. The Ranger Knight Defector, excuse me. Once you equip a unit, has tough and scout. Are both really really easy keywords to like just play around, and then you have the Void Blaster and the Void Abomination, the typical closeout for a Kaisa deck. All these cards really play well together, and then also to feed into a Kaisa or a Sivir's super powerful attacks.
Yeah, I think like you're pointing out the connection that each of the cards make, the reaction that it can create. There's a better word, but I'm blanking on it. The reaction that each of
Synergy.
the cards, yeah, the synergy, that's it. I don't know why I blank on these words that I hear so consistently, but the synergy from the overall deck is just so good. And I think that we're going to see it, if not banned, at least I think that it's not going to be one of those decks that you want to play against a lot.
No, definitely not. And we're waiting to see who's going to be played on stream. Um, we are going to be waiting just a little bit longer as the teams collect themselves, but I think overall this is going to be a really really interesting series between the two teams. Between the Kaisa Sivir and the Annie TF, we have some other interesting stuff. Heimerdinger Nora making a return as well on Des Moines' side. Hecarim Zed. Hecarim Zed was like super like niche in the beginning of this expansion when a lot of the new Shadow Isles cards came out focused on ephemeral units. And I remember talking about it with I think Monte Cristo earlier this season. Like Hecarim Zed was really interesting, and I was like, oh, I wonder if Azir Hecarim will be a thing just because of that kind of ephemeral summoning. But I'm glad the Hecarim Zed's made a return just because of like how unique of a deck it is. It's not really like anything else, in terms of how it plays. And then we have Hash as well, bringing back the Deep. The Deep deck has returned, and oh my
I'm
god,
not super glad on that, but
Hard Gamer is bringing Deep too. Oh my, Hirsch was saying that I was a bad person for playing Feel the Russian Ladder, but I mean, you have the number one team in one of your groups is bringing two Deep decks. Two Deep decks. That's
hear me
two.
out here
That's
though.
two.
Two wrongs don't make a right. Like you can still be wrong and they can still be wrong, okay? Like that
I
is
mean,
still
Feel the
doesn't
Rush
change
is
things.
definitely less offensive than playing Deep. They're
Are
bringing
you
two
sure?
Deep decks. That has to be illegal. Let's get someone on this. Wookie, get someone on this. I don't think this is allowed. Two deep, no, I'm just kidding. But two deep decks. Talia Ziggs making a return as well. It's interesting, not like that. The last patch was full of buffs. Like there were a lot, or not buffs, full
Yeah.
of nerfs. Like a lot of nerfs, but they weren't like super crazy nerfs. They were like just sort of like, oh, you don't get to have a one cost rally the turn after you generate it. And people have completely reverted. They've gone back in time to playing Deep, to playing Talia Ziggs, to playing Sivir Kaisa. We're
So that is kind of one of those situations when, and this
Feel the
happens,
Rush.
like this happens in League a lot, where it's not that they nerfed something super heavily, but the idea that something is nerfed kind of makes people think, okay, this maybe is no longer viable, so I will try and play something else. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad or good. Like it just happens that people just completely scrape something away
Back
because
to
something got
comfort.
nerfed.
Back to comfort.
Yeah, exactly. Everything like and they have played these decks for so long, so they know what to expect from these decks.
Yeah, and like for so long, Deep has been around since the introduction of League of Legends or
Pretty
Legends of
much
Runeterra,
here to
excuse
there,
me.
yeah, pretty much.
Legends of Runeterra. Like that's a deck that's been here for the longest. Um And Diana Leona too is the part of the second expansion in the game, the Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, yeah, for sure
but
was.
but no, I think it's interesting to see how the community reacts to, what in the end was not really the most intensive buffs or nerfs, excuse me. But with that said, we are still waiting for the teams to collect themselves, get into the matches and into the band phase. So we will be taking a short intermission while we get everything figured out on the back end. We'll be back in just a few seconds. All right, guys, we're back. The teams have organized themselves. We're gonna be getting right into it between Des Moines Damage and Red Pup Games, and it's gonna be between Hash and Jansport. So conveniently, two people whose decks we were highlighting, but
Yep.
also they have other decks that we can talk about now. We got the Nora Heimerdinger, the Seraphine Victor for Jansport on Des Moines, and we got the Deep and the Talia Ziggs from Hash. Conveniently, also decks we were talking about before the intermission. Now, I know who I'm rooting for, TDS.
I am an impartial caster. I don't root for anyone, but I'm also not rooting for. But I'm also rooting for Jansport. So
It's nothing against you, Hash. It's just also against you because you're
it's
playing
pretty
Deep.
much against you.
It's totally personal, but
It's pretty
no.
much against you and your choices. So do
No.
better.
It's gonna be an interesting match because these are decks that we haven't really seen, barring the Seraphine Victor. You know, the Nora
Yeah.
Heimerdinger was interesting for like a week, and then other stuff became more powerful, was more popular. Annie TF, I don't think I've seen in the league before. Kaisa Silver has been a while, but they're also including some new deck or new cards in there. You know, you see a Helis Resurrection, very convenient to save a champion that's perished,
Yeah.
as well as the Swinging Glaive, the equipments, all that fun stuff. I'm curious. I'm looking at the deep deck, and boy, has there been nothing that's changed about this. It's
It's the
yep.
same deck that everyone loved and hate.
It's the Mega Tusk is the only new addition, I guess. And that's not even a new addition. But let's take a look at Ziggs Talia. Sorry,
So
TDS.
no, I was just saying like it's at least a change trying to find anything like every
Hmm.
bit that you can add on it. I'm glad that you're at least trying to make the effort
Hmm.
of change again. The sixth Aliyah one where you were going to talk about it,
Hmm.
I think hasn't necessarily changed a ton, but at the same time, I think that has additions that can end up being working out really
Hmm.
nicely for it. And you still have the potential damage consistency that you have with the sixth Aliyah, where you just go for the next and you are able to get a lot of damage into it.
Hmm. Yeah, and speaking of that, like I always was curious how the what's the spell called, TDS, that doubles the damage the unit takes for the rest of the round. I always thought that like that
Ooh.
would be a really interesting card to include in like a Talia deck. If you're able to get that Talia level up, it's sort of like guarantees that one of the barrages can kind of just like instantly kill the unit, and then the rest of your barrages hit Nexus from Talia. But maybe it's a little too niche of a combo synergy
It's
because
a
that
it's
deck
an
is already strong enough.
it's a Nandy adaptation. It's something that you would do, but maybe not meta
Yeah,
just yet.
it'd
You're
be something
predicting
that
future meta. It's fine.
it'd be interesting to see how it works. I don't have the patience to test 100 games of it. But
Not
one
sure.
card that we can talk about actually, TDS, is Safety Inspector. Safety Inspector was buffed to be a bit of a cheaper card. Um, just increase the value of it because it was kind of expensive. As we see the
Yeah.
bans coming through, Deep still there, let through.
In
As we
both decks we talked about.
both decks both yeah exactly TDS. Both decks we talked about were banned. The TF Annie and the Sivir Kaisa. Surprising, actually. I'm actually surprised. I expected, Sivir Kaisa to be let through. Maybe. I don't know. I just know that playing against Deep is terrible. I would have like PTSD and ban that. But no,
True, but
I
now
think
it's Seraphine. Now there is Seraphine, so I think that you're less scared with the newer kind of waves of decks that
oh
it's
wait.
coming out. Wait, yeah, mistake.
Oh, we got baited. It's okay. We all got
Blame production.
bamboozled. It's actually Seraphine Victor was taken away. God
Always
dang it,
blame
Hirsch.
production.
It's Hirsch's fault. According to Mr. Wookie, it's Hirsch's fault, and I can back that 100%. Um,
Disappointment.
but no, I think overall interesting bands. Kaisa Sivir, yeah, I can see it. That's definitely a harsh deck to play against. Whereas like you can kind of squeeze out wins against both of these other decks, whereas Kaisa Sivir will just sort of ramp up way too hard, way too fast for either the Nora Heimerdinger or the Annie TF.
So I'm kind of I kind of understand the reasoning behind why you would ban the Seraphine and the Victor away, right? Like it's a bothersome deck anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still something that can create problems. But I think, or this is coming from my side, right? But an ETF is such a niche deck in a lot of ways that I think that maybe you don't have enough experience facing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you would be 100% comfortable going against something like this. But it is the
Mm-hmm.
decision that is going into now, and we do get the chance to see how it performs. So it's still good to see, to get the
Mm-hmm.
chance to see it.
And you know, like into the same extent, TS, not to just immediately go against you, but like you
Yes.
seen one Bilgewater Noxus burn deck, you seen them all. You seen one Noxus control deck, you seen them all.
So pretty much everything is the same. I respect that argument. I think
I
it's a
mean,
good enough argument if
how
you know
many?
how to play that. But
This is a definitely unique way, a unique list to bring for a control deck like for Noxus or like a burn or whatever.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's like still like okay, I know what will do well into these, what will not do well. How
there's a
unique can
saying.
you make
There's
that
a
kind of
saying
deck?
for this, but I don't remember it. I had it in my
And
mind. Maybe it's
yes.
because I thought it. I'm trying to think of it in Spanish, but it's not. I'm not finding it.
Well, if you do think of it, let us know as we see Hash's arguably okay mulligan. Two landmarks, the Roiling Sands into a rock hopper with the with a excuse me, drop the bomb. So should be pretty convenient. You know, already enough landmarks to level up Talia.
And that's exactly what you're trying to look. Every time that you're playing Talia, you want to try and get this sort of landmarks going as soon as possible. Try and set up, and then you can play off your Talia really, really easily. But at the same time, I do like the hand from Jan Sports. Like, it has
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit of value. Yes, not a lot of units to play, but it's still quite good to have just in case.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I think, you know, that's definitely actually a really good start for James Morse. You know, you have double Vile Feast, the Conchologist, an easy way to
Immediately.
break these Roiling Sands.
Yeah.
And now what? Oh, the Hate Spike. Hate Spike. Nah, that's I like that pick a lot actually because it does generate a created unit for your Nora, and also the husks are pretty strong. It's just, you know, not good enough to play an Evelyn deck. But okay, all right. I'm trying to get back on the list that we have here. Jansport's deck or hand full of spells, while Hash at least has 2 units. That's a good start.
Yeah, having the advantage in that regard is good. You can still get your units deleted, but you don't want to use Biophys
Mhm,
for anything like that, just in case.
mhm,
Although
right.
Gensport's trying to go for some spell here, I think he would like to try and draw as much as possible now. I think
Yeah,
probably
no,
here.
I think he's trying to draw as much as possible, and you know, doing that now convenient because
Yeah.
you need to draw, and now we're going to see. Okay, the pass. It's actually surprising. I was just assuming that you would just go
For the
straight into
attack,
the
right?
attack. Yeah, but I guess you're not too worried actually if you're Hash. You're just sort of like waiting. Maybe you're trying to set up the Endless Devout into having the landmark up when you have Talia, so you can double 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 summon that follow up card. Because that would be convenient. You know, double generate a 5 power unit. Because other
Yeah.
than Talia, you don't really have too many powerful cards. And there's a Talia. Exactly what I was talking about. The Rockhopper
Winning the
gets
draw.
summoned. Hmm?
I was just saying, winning the draw, getting the Talia, and
Mm-hmm.
Bile Feast, try and destroy this unit as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily a bad decision, but I feel like you would rather save this kind of damaging abilities for the Talias, for the 6, to try and take them away as soon as possible, no?
Um, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not really too well versed in the Talia Ziggs decks. Just because I was too busy playing Azir Zerath.
Fair enough.
But no, I think as far as things go, oh, the Warp Rat. Okay. But no, we see the Talia. Talia's leveled up, actually, so this is a very, very important aspect here. But we're going to see her duplicate that sarcophagus, so we will see the double 5/3 fearsome units in 2 turns. But I think this is just the instant vengeance from Jansports.
Yeah.
Instant vengeance from Jansports, but Hash has 2 stopwatches or 2 hourglasses.
Stopwatches.
Stopwatches. 2 hourglasses, excuse me. Too much
The
legal language.
trauma's too big. Yeah, the trauma's too much.
Yeah. Wow. That's surprising. That's surprising.
Maybe because of the huge amount of cards that is currently in Hash's land, maybe thinking like there's too much potential save for the Talia if I go
Well,
aggressive in any way.
wait, so you think that Jansport has too many cards in hand for the
No,
Talia to go for?
I think Hash has too many cards. So if he has to have, or at least based on what I think Jansport's thinking, I think he thinks Hash has too many cards and anything can save Talia from there. So it's
Well,
not. It
so
could be too.
so yes, I agree with you, but that is exactly the reason why you want to start trying to clear the Talia, because you need to use these resources that Hash has. You know, Hash already has the level Talia. The hard part is
Yeah.
over. What you want to do is take that Talia away until you have more options to deal with it. So if you went for the vengeance right now, you would have gotten at least the hourglass out, and that would have, denied the vengeance, but it would have taken the Talia away from the board this turn. Because this turn is going to do 4 damage to the Nexus through that minion.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're meaning.
And the health bar, the Nexus has a health bar, and health is a resource that has to be used, but it's going to very quickly start deteriorating if you're Jansport.
Should they still like the setup just feels like now for Hash is
Mm-hmm.
close to being perfectly lined up, and Jansper's now is more on his side to try and chip something here.
Yeah, and
Now Osfred.
here's the vengeance, and all we're gonna see is, either a Rite of Negation or, honestly, I would expect the hourglass. I would
Maybe
expect
it's a
the hourglass.
maybe it's a more straightforward way. Because this way you don't need to like stop your Talia from being a
Mm-hmm.
part of anything for the next turn either.
Yeah, but hourglass only has a countdown of 1, so it comes back next turn no matter what.
Yeah, actually. I was thinking if it lasts if it lasted longer, well then. But
No,
yeah.
hourglass is a countdown of 1, so you're only, you don't destroy one of your mana gems. You still have the deny to clear a whole board of spells, and your Talia is only gone for this turn. I feel like that probably would have been the better play, but maybe there's something going on that I'm not tracking. As that 6/1, that card is going to be pretty tough to deal with, except for the fact that there's a scrappy bomb or drop the bomb in hand.
That
Just what the
lasted
doctor ordered.
that lasted like 3 seconds of us being worried about that card until it
Yeah,
wasn't a worry
yeah.
anymore.
If Hash didn't have the drop the bomb, would have been a difficult time to try and clear out that elusive unit. Yeah, and there's the black spear, and this is where you kind of get into the point of like, hourglass protects the Talia for the whole turn.
Yeah.
The drop or the Rite of Negation protects it from a single spell.
Yeah, and at this point where you pretty much already used everything from your mana, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of just gave away the opportunity to take away the Talia.
Yeah, exactly. And like, next turn you would have to wait until after you like lost another unit from the big attack that would have came through from the Talia with, the quick or the Absolver Redeemer in hand. Like, at that point it would have been too late. And now we're gonna see the Absolver Redeemer come through from Hash to go on to the Ziggs. That's going to end the game. And I don't think there is anything that can actually be done here. You have 8 mana, Pokey Stick, Unspeakable Horror, Vile Feast. That's 8, but that doesn't kill. That doesn't kill the anything. That doesn't kill anything through through That doesn't kill anything. It
What is the
kills
poke stick?
it kills one of the endless devouts, but not even because you just have more Absolver Redeemer in hand for Hash. So like I guess it doesn't matter what Hash did last turn, but like I still would have liked to see them save the Talia just out of principle of like if Jansport had a better hand to deal with this attack.
So pretty much just like everything was already set up from Hash.
Yeah, it already didn't matter.
You
But
just
like
wanted him to have done things a little bit better.
it didn't yeah, it already didn't matter, but like from our perspective, it didn't matter because we knew what Jansports has.
Yeah.
But like if you want to take the safest route, protecting the Talia for the whole turn gives you a whole nother huge attacker this turn that Jansports has to deal with the limited amount of mana and spells he has in his hand. As we see the first win taken by Hash, so things not off to the best start for Des Moines because they desperately need the wins.
Yeah, we talked about this. They need to win tonight, and this start is not the most ideal, but there's still a couple of games left. We still need to see if they can take the whole win or the whole match win. So there's still opportunity for DMG. But this was a really good performance by Hash. Really played it out nicely. Obviously, can correct certain things, like you don't need to allow your Talia to get killed or anything like that. But apart from that, I think everything managed really nicely and didn't give a lot of opportunities to Jansports to get a lot done.
Mm-hmm. As we go into the second match, it's going to be the run back from Jansports as we go into the deep deck, which honestly this is a pretty good hand for deep, and yeah, no mulligan. Oh wait, oh okay,
Goes for it, yeah.
goes for the mulligan actually. I was right. All right. I would have said that was a good start, but we're gonna see the dredgers get that trash, eat that trash.
Okay. Like that is a start that I wasn't expecting to see from Hash in the sense that I thought he was just going to keep the whole cards and nothing much. Like there was not
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean
be changes.
the
But I feel like maybe he thought he didn't have enough, and this is just a wild guess, value in it to really perform in the early
mhm.
stages, and that's why he just threw it away.
Yeah, I mean, you did pull like some pretty valuable cards in terms of the treasure trove,
Yeah.
for or excuse me, lure of the depths for Hash, which reduces the cost of your sea monsters, which is very very valuable. But you already had a salvage, you already had the jaw hunters, which would have given you the opportunity to like keep tossing and also clear the board from Jansports. The the Jaw Hunters would have been able to, kill a Nora or a Heimerdinger on drop. But this is arguably just as good of a deck because you can also use the Fading Memories to summon another something if you want to.
Yeah.
um, you still have the Jettison and also the Sap Magic, so
Still have a lot of value, like you're pointing out. So it's not like
oh,
you don't get a lot of things going for you.
now TDS. What is something that is going to save Jansports this game?
I wanna say that it's having the double vengeance, but I'm not sure if it's that.
It's having double vengeance as well as ruination.
Okay, fair enough. That
It
is quite destructive, to say the least.
yeah. No, it's having double vengeance and ruination is going to be very, very huge for Jansports. If Hash goes wide, if Hash is able to go wide, get a bunch of cards on board, this could be a huge, huge play for Jansports. Like if Hash plays a Nautilus before the Nautilus is like levels up or something, like that could be a huge, huge delay
Yeah.
for Hash. Getting rid of that card doubling or anything. But in the meantime, I think we're gonna see. Wow. Okay. Hash wanting to see what else he can pull before using that Jettison, which I
I
mean
respect that.
doesn't matter because toss destroys from the bottom of your deck, so they're cards you wouldn't reach anyways.
But I think like this sort of taking your time
Mhm.
in the deep deck, like it's not a bad option. It's not like you
Mhm.
need to rush anything out. And Jespert is also playing a sort of deck that doesn't need to rush things out. So it
Mhm.
plays out for both well enough.
Mhm. Yeah, that is fair. And like you mentioned, they are both slower decks. So if the Sat Magic Vile Feast to clear the Dora, so sad. But no, like if they're both somewhat slow decks, and if the Nora Heimerdinger deck is operating slower than your deep deck, then like there still is no rush.
Yeah.
Because the Heimerdinger deck doesn't really do a lot until it gets the Donger on the board, but also like plays a bunch of super expensive spells. And once you get deep, once you have that value in your deck, like it doesn't matter if there's a bunch of strong units on the board because you have a board full of strong units.
You pretty much have what you desire to have at that point,
Mhm.
and you can just play it out like you wanted to. Anyway,
Mhm. Oh wait, so Jan Sports portaled a Sea Scarab too. That's funny. That's a coincidence.
that's ironic, yeah. It's a Pokestake. It is like because of how much like value there is right now in Jansport's hands, like it's kind of hard to say what you opt into right now to even open up space if you want to. Because there's a lot
Mhm.
of cards that you can really make use of.
Oh, and there we go. We're deep. We're deep. That's it. Game over.
You cannot just throw the towel like that, Andy, please. You still have a chance, I think.
It was my game, and I'm still looking down a 20 health deep player. I think I'm going for the next game, but you know, you can't give up if you're James Sports. Your team needs these wins,
Exactly.
and we're gonna see another glimpse beyond for some extra draw. Um, but no, I mean Hash has a really good hand because he has the Maokai, which is going to obliterate the opponent's deck and all the portals and whatnot it has on it. But then it still has another Devourer of the Depth. So that's still another champion or anything that gets played that just disappears. But before that, we're going to see the Nautilus.
Also pulls out the Nautilus, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
But
actually,
there's
I
still
think
ways to kill it, so
no, I think you go for the Maokai first. If your Maokai is leveled, then definitely a Maokai angle. But Jan Sports is saving 9 mana, making sure that they have enough to ruinate for when one of these champions arguably comes down. And Hash is waiting. Hash knows. Hash knows, like, oh, whenever I play a Nautilus or a Maokai, they're either getting vengeanced or there's a ruination. Because Jan Sports very specifically showed that he's saving 9 mana.
yeah.
And here comes the big attack. Before any spells can come out, gonna force out maybe a vengeance, or maybe they just go for a full block. But
I think you have to go for the full block because if you use the vengeance here, like in hand right now, there's another Nautilus. So if you use Ruination and use the vengeance for nothing, like you're kind of keeping away or taking away from your resources.
yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like the situation we're at now, and that's what we're seeing with Hash. Like, okay, Hash sees that there was 9 mana left, so Hash doesn't play anything. But now Hash sees.
There's the first one.
Oh, okay, so the vengeance kills the unit that's okay, all right, that's good. But there's the elusive, the 6/1 elusive. Good. No Maokai still. Is the Maokai still not leveled?
I think
No
not
way the
just
Maokai is not
yet.
leveled.
Yeah, not just yet. I was looking at the level, I would know.
Oh.
We're really
Hmm.
going into a waiting game to see who decides what to do first.
Well, it's just a game of not even chicken. It's just sort of like a game of, oh, I know you have vengeance and potentially ruination. Okay, there's another vengeance. This has to be when you play the Nautilus, I think, because you've just seen 2 Vengeance and there's no opportunity for Ruination. What are the odds there's the 3rd Vengeance in hand? If there even is a 3rd Vengeance, hold on. There is a 3rd Vengeance. But what are the odds that there's the 3rd Vengeance? Yes, we've had.
I feel like by a rule of 3, if there's a 2 Vengeance in hand and you think there's a Ruination, by virtue of choice, there's no 3rd Vengeance.
Yes, we've had 2nd Vengeance. But what about 3rd Vengeance? And there's the 1313 Nautilus, copying all the tossed sea monsters that were thrown away so cruelly throughout this game, tossed to the side like trash. Now back and better than ever in Nautilus's deck. And the Heimerdinger has leveled up with the pool party, but things are not looking good.
And you can get elusive just in case.
Yeah, just in case you need a blocker, the elusives are out. Why? Wait. So Jansports dropped another elusive, which is why Hash was able to play this elusive?
Yeah.
Why? That's interesting. Oh, and then the Fading Memories. Okay. Awesome. Actually, such a smart play, because the only thing you're really missing from Hash is elusives, and the only thing that's actually a threat to you is elusives.
And now you have another elusive to play with. I'm just thinking next turn Hash just forces it.
Yeah, I think... Honestly, I think you use the... What's it called? The Nautilus's Dreadline? You'll put the card back on the deck. Put that card back where it came from. Or so help me. This is a really tough place for Jansports, actually, because you have this 6/1 elusive, you have the leveled up Donger, you have a decently wide board, but like you can't play the Nora because then you'll never play your Ruination.
Yep.
But you have to be able to play your Ruination because the board that Hash is building is going to be much, much stronger.
What's a bigger risk to you? Allowing Hash to keep his board intact, or you destroying everything and just trying to play it off again?
I think you have to bait out. I'm surprised the Maokai hasn't been played yet. Is it really not?
It's not yet leveled up.
Oh no,
now it is.
Okay. Now I think you Ruinate if you're Jansports, but it is like almost too little too late. Because there is no way to stop the Maokai level up. Because it's on dropping. Yeah, there's the Ruination. You have the T-Hex. You got the T-Hex. There's still another Nautilus in hand for her Hash. But you're now on a 4-turn timer if you're Jansports. Yeah, you have 4 turns. You have Nora, you have Heimerdinger, but... Like, what do you do? What do you do, Lord?
Well, the Nora's coming out.
Nora's coming out, but like... Still, what?
They should still the same. Yeah, they should still the same. That doesn't change much.
Okay, wait. Alright, wait. Alright. So there's the not the Battle Bonds, but the Battle City edition. Oh, we're deep. We're deep on Jansport's side. But no, I think... Yeah, wait, hold on. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. There's no way. The Ruination. The Ruination.
It was all part of the plan for Jansports.
Okay.
The dip was set up. But I think that it was like I feel like Jansport, like Hash needed to take action. Like I feel like he played into the waiting game from Gen Sports, which isn't
Mhm.
necessarily bad because we already kind of figured that he knew that there was a ruination, but you played too much of the waiting game, and in that waiting game, you just gave the opportunity or the window for to Gen Sports to really find the angle to kind of try and come back.
Yeah. No, I think, it's tough because you don't want to play your units and have them be vengeance. Like you don't want to have to use one of your Nautiluses and get them be vengeanced. But you also don't want to, stall out like your tempo that you've built and like allow Jansports to like come back like that because it
Yeah.
was definitely a very, very convincing like hash game. But then things like took too long, went too late, and then the Nora and the Heimerdinger were in hand for Jansports when the the Ruination eventually came out. And I think what really actually saved the game for Jansports was vengeancing the Devourer of the Deep before it could obliterate the Heimerdinger.
Yeah, we're
Because that
talking
would have.
about the utilization of the vengeance, right? And
Mhm.
if it was a little bit, if it was way too early to use it because of the risk of the Nautilus and all that, but it actually came in perfect in that game.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because it saved the Heimerdinger, which allowed you to, conserve mana in a sense by not having to play another Heimerdinger. But then also, like, with that Heimerdinger that you saved, now it's generating a T-Hex off of your Ruination that you've been making sure you always have enough mana for, like, throughout the game.
Yeah.
Because that T-Hex is now also combining with the Nora and the two Portal Paloozas that you have in hand to create and then draw one of the 4 cards left in your deck to create a 6 power unit and another card on burst speed for you to attack with. And I was trying to say before those things happened so quickly, it was like you also had the Shadow Isles Tellstones, so you could have used a Mark of the Isles to just give one of your 2 units a +2/+2 as well, and that would have sealed it also. But the Portal Palooza was definitely the safer bet, just going wider in case there was some sort of answer for a single unit from Hash. As we see Hash off to a much poorer start here, I think. They had the lure of the deep, but now they're trying to, you know, get deep very, very quickly, I think.
Trying to force it as much as possible, and it's not compared to the previous game where I think he really did just have a pretty good
Hmm.
speed on how he performed that
Hmm.
and how he got towards the deep part. But Jan Sports also has a really good hand, and I think that has a good setup already going for him.
Yeah, no, I think Jansports actually has an insane hand just because of how slow Hash is going to be getting these cards on the board. And you see 6 or 4 damage coming through here, but in hand, you already see the Riptide Rex. The Riptide Rex is already there, Ravenbloom already on the board, counting down. And with that, you could very easily see a Riptide Rex with Ravenbloom, like hitting next, or Riptide Rex with Tybok hitting Nexus, like before you can get too many units on the board for Hash.
Yeah.
Like you can go for like the Mega Tusk this turn, or you can go for the Eye of the Abyss and go for a unit, but you can only get one of those out on the board this turn. Or you can go for like that's you can only get one unit on the board really this turn. But you could also go. Hmm, trying to think of how we can get a wider board before the Tybok hits, because the Tybok's at 5 countdown, which will definitely go down. I think honestly, you go, make it rain. Make it rain into Ravenous. Make it rain
Yeah,
into
hitting you.
Ravenous because you want to save the disintegrate for the the Nautilus or some huge unit, because that's going to be very important to insta kill something. But make it rain into Ravenous will make Tybok hit board so much sooner while also clearing out this Mega Tusk.
Opting to try and bump up the board on the side from Jansport though.
Hmm.
Like maybe keeping it just in case there's something else that comes bigger in the
Hmm.
next turn and you want to try and eradicate it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Now that the second Riptide Rex has shown up, um, is there a way you can check the number on the deep, how close we are to deep, Wookie? So it's very important. So
Perfect.
21, they're 6 away from deep. 6 away from deep, but the good thing is that they're 19 away from the Maokai level. So that's definitely a good place to be. But 6 away from deep is not good because that means it's a jettison and 2 turns away from a jettison, a turn, or a jettison into top. Or okay, wait, no, it's like next turn, or this turn. We hit deep this turn potentially.
I feel like it's bound to be. So it could be potentially this turn. I'm not sure if we're going to reach it, although this is nice to try and destroy these units.
So the tie block is almost too late.
Yeah.
The tie block is going to be almost too late because you do hit deep this turn. Okay, yeah, there's the lure of the deep. There's the crab or the stones or the sea scarab. There's I think we're 1 card off of deep, 2 cards off of deep, which jettison hits immediately. Uh, the other card, the magic sat magic hits immediately.
So it is true. So it was true. It's the next turn or the next
Why?
pillar.
Why
Oh.
are we saving the make it rain and the disintegrate for a huge unit to come out so we can kill it instantly? Is that what Jansport is waiting for? Because you need to hit Tybok soon. Otherwise, you're gonna be too busy spending mana on spells to kill other units. Need to hit Tybok soon. And
Well,
there's
if the worry is the big units anyway, like I'm not sure if your play should be around that anyway. Like the big units here are scary and all that, but your play should be to rush the
yeah.
landmark as soon as possible.
No, I think you're totally right. I think that's what has to happen. Is like Tybok is the huge part of this deck.
Exactly.
Tybok into having your Riptide Rexes is what's most important. And I think that's what we're gonna see here is the make it rain into a Riptide Rex, honestly. Because you need the plunder to proc the Riptide Rex. There's the plunder, there's the Riptide Rex. There's the doesn't wait, it doesn't even kill both of the it doesn't even kill both cards? That's interesting. Wow. That is actually such a high roll from Hash. Only 1 cannon barrage targeted the sea scarab. So it's still just alive, and now we see the Nautilus come out. There's the free sea monsters that we know and love so much. And I think this one's going to be a little bit tougher for Jansport.
Yeah, actually, like losing every bit of value pretty much after that play, there's not a lot that he's going to accomplish, and now there is a pretty big attack for Hash.
No, this is just an open attack.
Yeah,
31 damage.
that's it.
There's nothing you can do. Okay, that's the deep we all know and love. That's the deep we all know. But no, that's an interesting match. That was very, very fast, I think, compared to what we are used to seeing. I think just because like last game was very interesting, seeing the turnaround with the ruination, the play around the huge spells, the kill spells from Jansports cannot be understated just because of how useful and how well played they were to turn around what was otherwise a very, very dark looking game, I think. But then in the next turn, we saw, Hash off to a little bit of a rough opening draw, but was able to convert that into like a huge attack, like just costing Jansports the game. And I think part of that is like Jansports didn't really have the best hand to rush the Tybok out and then convert that into like more and more like big spell damage with the cannon barrage from the Riptide Rex.
Yeah, because we kind of knew that the objective should have been to rush it as much as possible. Like you need to be able to pop the landmark because yes, the other cards can be useful and all that, but it's that duo that ends up being the biggest damage or the biggest part of your deck. And it's Deep that gets first into position, and it's easier for Hash to play it out.
And I think you said right there, like, it adds so much damage to your deck. Like Tybok is the deck. Tybok makes every single
Gosh.
aspect of that deck do more damage. The units do more damage. The spells and skills do more damage. Like everything revolves around hitting Ravenbloom and then hitting the level up as fast as, or the Tybok as fast as possible. And unfortunately, we just didn't see that. And Hash was able to pull out the win for RPG, the Red Pup gamers. But with that, we actually have the conclusion for the other two series TDS. Ryan and Card Gamer. Card Gamer 2-0 Ryan, giving Red Pup gamers a 2-0 and a win there. Floppy Mudkip 2-1s Donuts, which gives them another win, which makes it 4-1. And then now Hash has 2-1 2-1 Jan
Sports.
Sports, which means 6-2 overall, a 3-0 sweep for Red Pup gamers, keeping them handily in first place. Des Moines Damage not looking too strong. Unfortunately, was not able to pull out any wins, which they very desperately needed moving forward with playoffs coming up very, very soon. So congratulations to Red Pup Games. You know, Hash playing really, really well, especially in that game where the Ruination turned on him. Like there was not much to really do because it was going to happen. The Ruination was going to hit. It was just sort of like you mentioned, kind of a game of chicken of like when do you drop your important cards with that in mind of like, oh, there is a Ruination.
It was a pretty interesting game to really see what is soon and what is late. Like how soon is soon and how late is late in that sort of game. And it ended up benefiting one of the players. At the end, Hash turns it around really nicely, which didn't really matter in the overall context of the other series, because even if that win went over, the overall series would have been in favor of the RPG. But it's like you were pointing out, at least getting one victory would have been really, really good for TMG. It's unlucky that they don't get anything, even though I think that they were they really were close with those two ones. And if they are able to go towards playoffs, which I'm not 100% sure, I would like to confirm this first. It's important to have that mentality that you can at least try and take games from these teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the most important thing, you know, to be able to like just keep it in your head that you can win. Like it's not over. But with that, we are going to be going for our collaborative match in just a few minutes between Breaking Bandle and Wombat's Tempo. So this is going to be an interesting match. We're going to take a brief intermission while we prep for this one. Stick right there, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Fantasized into existence because we have willed Trundle Trendemir to appear on the stream. It's finally here, manifested because of our huge will. I'm Domcast, joined by TDS. As always, we're covering Breaking Bandle and Wombat Tempo for the collaborative match of the day. And it's going to be a banger just because of the decks we have. TDS, I know you're not looking forward to one of them, but it's okay. I'm looking forward to the Trundle Trendemir because this is not your average Trundle Trendemir. This Trundle Trendemir deck, boy, is it special. It's got all your favorite stuff, Trundle and Trendemir and Feel the Rush, Catalyst of Aeons. Now, interestingly, excuse me, it does not have any Voice of the Old Ones. So Voice of the Old Ones is one of those like 2-cost 0/3 mana gem creating cards that was super popular, but it's not in this deck. So it's replaced in favor of the Kindly Tavern Keeper, keep your health pool up, and then more spells. Lots of spells we're seeing here. We got 2 Withering Wails, keep your health up. We got Vile Feast, get a little bit of clear and a little bit of block. Some Ruination to keep the bad guys down, keep the boards clear until you can hit those Feel the Rush. Now, this is a very, very interesting deck, especially because of how much it deviates from what was traditionally a Trundle Trendemir deck with a bunch of 8-cost cards. Whereas we've swapped in a bunch of control spells to allow us to hit that Feel the Rush, to allow us to get to that 12 mana so that you can just sort of win the game immediately afterwards.
It's a pretty, this sort of deck that is kind of focused later on, but it's strong if you let it get attacks down as well. It's fun to see, but I don't know how much you can get done with it. Not in the sense that it doesn't get a lot done, but it just feels so like it has a way of playing, and if it doesn't accomplish that, I feel like it just falls off in a way.
Well, this deck is, a lot like some other decks that we've seen, like example for is Thralls or Azir's Wrath, or decks that force you to deal with the way that this deck wants to play. Like this deck is going to play to hit 12 mana, and it's gonna force you to watch it hit 12 mana. Like there's only so many things you can do against a deck like this to stop it from hitting 12 mana, and like that's just through winning. Like if you let this deck sit around, it's going to be like a really hard time because you have Catalyst of the Aeons, heals Nexus, Withering Wail, heals Nexus, Quietus, kills units, Avalanche, kills units, Withering, kills units, Ruination, kills units, She Who Wanders, kills units.
That's
Like
good.
all this stuff is all about either keeping the board clear, keeping the Nexus healthy.
Yeah, with that in mind, I think it's not a bad deck to actually think about. I think that at least forcing your opponent to be forced to play into what you want or lose, it's better force than other decks, particularly this one, because we're now looking into Team Wombat's Tempo, Zoe, Team Honora, and in all honesty, I cannot hate this deck more. This just feels like the kind of deck that you are not happy to play against, and even you yourself don't feel that happy to play. Like I understand the idea. It's a lot of draw, a lot of potential units that you're going to create, a lot of just value that these units will create for you that you're forcing onto your opponent. But it just feels like the purpose of playing this goes against everything that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I do like some of the cards that they added. So trying to look into the positives, I'm not going to be that down on it because I do think that like the idea and the way that the units and the spells are
Mm-hmm.
synergizing here is really good, and it's going to make a lot of value for the Zoe and the Nora. I think the Timo, it's not going to be one of the mains, but it still has some value. But the Zoe and the Nora are getting so much value of these cards, and you can still get units that are strong enough to stand by themselves because you have buffs to play around with them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this deck is very, very interesting. Definitely something that's I haven't really seen too much of in terms of what like use with the
Yep.
Nora, but I actually can get behind it really, really. I can really get behind it because of like it has a lot of cards that are pretty good for like weaker units, and it is sort of just like it's gonna hit something. It's gonna hit that Zoe level up. It's gonna hit that Nora level up, and then if Zoe is on the board, I can actually see this going really, really well just because of the free summons from Nora giving out potentially super powered buffs, super powered keywords for all the units.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, it is also like very elusive heavy TDS. So you got a little bit of a weak side of your board, but they should be able to hit the Nexus fairly easily just because of the amount of elusives in it. As we get into the ban phase, we see all three decks
Nice.
brought by both team. Breaking Bandle running the Nora Vagar, Feel the Rush, Seraphine Victor, and then Wombat's Tempo running that favorite Nora Zoe Teemo. Gwen Cat and Jace Heimerdinger. Now going in this Titus, who do you think is being taken off the board?
I feel like for team ranking bundle, you take away the Seraphim picture. I think the other two
Hmm.
decks, yes, are tough, but I feel like you can win against them in their conditions. Like particularly
Hmm.
with Jace, Heimerdinger, and Katarina Wen, I feel like those are the two decks that I think have a pretty good matchup with almost all three decks. So I feel like Seraphim picture should be the one, or is going to be the one taken by team breaking bundle.
Hmm.
For Wombats, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
You're not sure for Wombats who to take away. Who to take away from Wombats? Um, I think that's a good question. And if I had to say, I think it would be the Jace Heimerdinger. I think that's like the biggest problem for you if you're playing any of your decks as team breaking Bandle.
Yeah, like that.
Like,
That is a deck that has so
okay.
much power against everything. But
Or,
okay,
forget
so
what
we're
I
not getting.
said.
We're not getting your Trinda Trundle deck, sadly, and Katarina went as well banned away. I wasn't
Nope.
expecting the Katarina win at all. Like I really thought that was not going to be the deck that was
Yeah,
going to get banned away.
I thought it was gonna be Hybrid Jace, just because like that deck's pretty strong into everything you're bringing. But the Trundle Tryndamere definitely makes sense, I think, for Team Wombats, just because like if you do have Heimer Jace taken away, all the amount of clear on like Trundle Tryndamere's side just is so powerful. I actually played the other day against a deck just like the Zoe Teemo Nora deck, like full of super super cheap, super super low powered units. I hit 10 mana, dropped a She Who Wanders, obliterated the whole hand, the whole board, the whole hand. 5 units on board, 8 cards in hand, gone. The person FF'd. Like, what do you do? Like when there's cards that actually just destroy what's on your board and in your hand. Like, what is the answer to that?
Right?
And like that's definitely understandable. I think from Wombat's tempo, just because the amount of clear from the Trundle Trader deck really does threaten both the Nora Zoe Teemo and the Gwen Cat. Whereas like it doesn't necessarily threaten the Jace Heimerdinger just because the amount of spells in that deck and the potential for card generation.
We are though with the decks that are going to be left a lot, and I mean a lot of spells on both sides.
Oh
So
yeah.
this may end up being long, like not necessarily long games, but drawn out phases where like each is really trying to set
Calculate.
what they, yeah, exactly, how much what they want to use and how they play it.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's really interesting, I think, just because we see two different takes on two different like decks, which potentially do the same thing. Where you have the Vagar control versus you have the Jace Heimer control. You have the Seraphine Victor, which honestly I don't really know what it does. I can't be bothered to learn it. But no, like it's all very very unique stuff being brought out here, and Cat Gwen and Feel the Rush. They're not very conducive to being creative.
Fair enough. Which actually kind of makes me think overall, not only the context of this match, but overall in the day, we haven't had, I don't think we had a mirror match, right? Like, we had it pretty much all just unique decks
Yeah.
going against each other, which is not a thing that we commonly see. Like we at least once a week we had one mirror match.
Yeah, or like in the dark ages of like Azir's Wrath or Thralls, it was, Thralls, Azir's
Yeah.
Wrath, like mirror match all day, every day. But no, I don't think we've had any mirror match today, and I'm trying to remember last week, I think we only had the one Ezreal Seraphine mirror. And that was like surprising considering how many people were still running that deck.
Yeah. Much. It was really soon with the patch as well, so kind of makes sense why it happened. But it's good to see that there's a lot of adaptations, a lot of just things
Mhm.
changing here and there, and a lot of players just bringing out new things. I may hate the decks sometimes, but it's good that they are new.
Yeah. No, of course. And I think that's actually just been exemplified, not just because we haven't had a mirror matchup today. I don't even think we've had like the possibility for a mirror matchup. I don't think there's been like two lineups that had the same deck.
Yeah, like
Like every,
we would need to really go back, but just off of the top of my memory, I don't think either.
like I don't
Which
think yeah.
it's fun. It's really fun that teams
Hmm.
like even because we do need to consider as well that there is the final match, which is the team battle. So
Hmm.
you also set up some decks for your team battle overall. So the fact that there's not a lot of crashing decks between teams is actually really interesting. Like goes to show that each team has their own philosophy or their own idea behind what decks they prepare.
Hmm. No, and that's honestly, I think, that's what was kind of stated in the purpose of the most recent patch, and I think this is honestly uh the best demonstration of that. There are no mirror matchups. There's a ton of variety throughout the night, and hopefully we do get into game, but we are taking our time. Players are getting ready very soon.
We know it's very soon. We just know so
Soon,
we just don't know how soon is soon.
soon TM, soon trademark, a Hirsch guarantee, soon.
I
But
don't I don't believe in any guarantees from Hirsch, just saying.
well, that was part of the joke, TDS, and that's with that. We will be taking a brief intermission. We'll be going back straight into the first match between Breaking Bandle and Wombat Tempo. Stick right there. We'll be right back. All right, and here we are with the first match between Breaking Bandle and Wombat's Tempo. We're going to be seeing that Heimer Jace deck into the Seraphine Victor. Definitely an interesting game to start off with, but both teams looking to get that easy win out of the way.
Interesting start that they are both opting. I'm not sure if this is going to be the easy win, but I'm going to believe you if you're if that's what you feel like it's going to be these two decks.
Well, I think comparatively, these are the easy win decks. but they're playing against each other, which is going to make for a potentially spicy game.
Yeah, I can get behind that. With that in mind, though, both first hands coming in, and I like the Breaking Vandal's hands a little bit more. Yeah, it has quite a bit of value. Already has a lot of spells as well. It's just trying to lay it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I forgot that they nerfed the super fan to 5 costs. Like that card is, sheesh, that card is still super strong. Honestly, almost OP. But aside from that, interesting that there's been no units played yet. Both sides trying to get set up, and as they're trying to get more setup, they have more and more clear that they have to be worried about from the other side. You know, we have the Vile Feast, the Flash of Brilliance, the Tellstones into Aftershock. All of those could be very, very useful to try and clear one of these units off the board if they're played too prematurely. But at the same time, you need to have these cards on the board to get them
I
going.
was going to get to that. Like they need to be at some point in the board
Mm-hmm.
for it to actually matter. But they're passing quite a bit. They are really waiting on it. And it's understandable. We were expecting this kind of playstyle because it is the decks. Like these are the decks that we got.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I think we're going to be seeing it now. Actually, we have the Forged Chief in Tempo's hands. So that's something that can come out, start baiting out some of this clear, and then you trade that into the Hextech Handler, and then that will be just more clear that's baited out, and then finally it can be assumed to be safe to play your Heimer and your Jace, except that's a lot of
Okay.
cheap cards in Breaking Vandal's hands now that they have the barkeep out.
Yeah, but now there is a lot of board value as well on the side of
Mhm.
Tombat. So an eye for an eye, I guess. Even though the cheap cards are going to be so good to play later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here we see the Pokey Stick instant clear of that 4 power tower. You know, don't want to keep that thing around. But still, like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff on board here, which is going to be baiting out more clear.
Well, they do have quite a bit of it, so
Mhm.
it's not like
It's
baiting it out right
it's
now
almost
would
like their
make a
whole deck
big
is just
thing.
full of clear.
Yeah, who would have thought that this would work out like that?
Yeah, and still at like honestly just like a stalemate. We've passed into turn 5 and now we're in turn 6 or 7, excuse me. We passed into turn 7. Finally, Hexic Handler hits the board, buffs up these tech that's already there. And that should be a pretty good start, actually. I think, you don't want to hit the Jays just yet. You want to wait and see what Breaking Bandle plays out of hand. And there's a lot of stuff I think that Breaking Bandle wants to hit
Yeah.
the board.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of value. So
Hmm.
obviously not taking the initiative or not the initiative, not taking the quick way, it's not necessarily bad. Like the Jace can still wait. Like, you're not going to miss out on anything. You're not even going to
Hmm.
lose a lot of health anyway if you don't play out the Jace just yet.
Hmm. Now this is a tough choice because both of these, both the Heedless Resurrection and Drum Solo are so wildly OP for this deck.
What matters is how you feel.
Oh, and they chose Moonlight Affliction.
Okay. I was thinking drum solo, but he already has one, so
I
maybe
was
not
thinking
thinking about
Heedless
that.
Resurrection. I was thinking like, oh, you have Heedless Resurrection. Oh, I guess you don't have equipment. That's probably one of the problems. But you already reduced it to 2 costs thanks to the fan club. No, I think Heedless Resurrection was the move because now you can drop the Victor. Victor gets cleared by the Quietus, and then you hit the Heedless Resurrection again,
And he's
and
back.
and he's back and better than ever.
He's no longer a robot even. It's just a picture from Arcane.
Yeah. Nah, that's the one skin we're waiting for Legends of Runeterra League is the Arcane Victor, where it's just a normal guy, just a
It's
normal
funny.
dude.
It's not that I make the joke when I haven't even watched Arcane.
All right, TDS. We're not friends anymore.
You can
No, I'm
judge
just
me for
kidding.
that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But it is an amazing show. If you haven't seen Arcane, pretty good. Pretty good show. As we see another attack coming out from Wombat's Tempo, the Forge Chief unfortunately gonna die here, but they trade out the the bot and the super fan, and they still have the Mark 1 Aper turret, so that's convenient. As we see another Mystic Shop into the hand of Wombat's Tempo. Oh,
Hmm.
oh. Honestly, Celestial Wonder. That's probably the best card here. A 2-cost
Yeah,
fast double stun. That's the best
like
card.
I was thinking Rocket Barrage because of damage, but honestly, just having the stun value can be much better.
Her
hmm
songs just
No,
make
the
me feel
stun
so
value I think is the best. And
happy.
yeah, there we go. The that's the right choice. I'm honestly still trying to get over this Moonlight Affliction, but maybe there's something behind it that I'm not seeing because not being able to block is definitely a huge like debuff to have, but having a resurrection is also really nice to have for a deck that relies on having its champions alive.
Yeah.
Um, and now we're going to see a lot actually turrets being spawned here.
There was a lot of trade between the spells, so they did get rid of the Heimerdinger, which I think is a pretty good idea.
Mhm.
And even
Mhm.
though there's going to be quite a few turrets of value, like it's still good enough to get rid of the Heimerdinger as soon as possible.
Mhm. Yeah, and now we see the victor, and this has to be Quietus. Just Quietus in response. You Quietist, I Quietist. Oh, you should have Quietist when you had the chance.
They don't want you to be happy, don't.
Nope. Nope. You should have Quietist, because then it would have forced Breaking Bandle to play the Moonlight Affliction to get the Augment proc to deny the Quietus. Would have been huge. Would have been taking away a huge spell that Breaking Bandle actually had to roll for. That would have been huge.
I'm surprised Breaking Bendel using the Thermogenic Beam. I thought you just saved that for the Jace. Even
Mm.
with a vengeance, I think you just saved that, no?
Um, yes and no. Like part of the problem is you have other forms of clear and control, like control especially now with uh this event horizon or cosmic whatever it's called. The amount of control you have is really high. Having a thermogenic beam in hand is not the most convenient because it consumes all your mana. So like if you have a Jace on board and Jace takes 4 mana to die, but you have 7 and you need to play a card that will kill him now, the thermogenic beam isn't the most convenient. Whereas like you can play the Vengeance, kill the Jace at any health, and not have to worry about thermogenic beam taking up a slot in your hand.
Okay.
And
Okay.
also like it is just like a convenience card where like, oh, if you have enough mana and it's the end of your like play for this round, like sure, Thermo's nice to have, but I think Breaking Bandle was running into like a we have too many cards in our hand.
Yeah, that is also another issue that both sides are
Mhm.
can face because of how many they can generate.
Yeah, and now actually I would like to see the Jace hit the board. You hit the Jace, or no, wait, no, I take that back. I was gonna say you hit the Jace, and then next turn you can Shock Blast and then level up, or you already are leveled up, but double Shock Blast, but now we're gonna see Vengeance right off the bat next turn.
Well, one thing that quickly just want to point out, like Wombat has such a good board setup already, though. Like has a lot of damage value. We're talking about the spell
Mm-hmm.
potential and the card generation. Like they have so much damage value in board right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually do. They have 9 damage from just the tough turrets, and then they have the Spiderling as well. But with the Shock Blast is actually where the convenience of this deck comes into play
Yeah.
because of you have that 9 damage, but you can make sure there are no blockers because of the Shock Blast. And now you see the Hex Relator, which kills the Jace,
Good decision. Getting rid of that Jace as soon
unfortunately,
as possible.
and saving the Vengeance still. And killing the Jace here is actually a huge blow for Wombat Tempo, just because the acceleration gate no longer being doubled. The shock blast this turn could have been 6 damage onto the Nexus. 6 damage onto the Nexus by hitting Acorn and the Nexus with Jace. The next turn getting the double acceleration gate. So much value has just been lost by that one card killing Jace.
It's a really good call to have killed the Jace, honestly. But both of them are answering with trying to clear as much as possible, which I feel for Wombats is not a bad idea.
No, it's definitely the smart idea now for Wombats because, you know, without that Jace, without the ability to double the damage onto the Nexus, get 6 damage down, clearing the board is the correct choice. You know, now you can hit the board with 9 damage next turn on open and potentially force out, you know, one of these spells that Breaking Vandal's been saving. You know, the Moonlight Affliction likely coming out next turn to deny some damage. Maybe a Vengeance even, you know, something to save Nexus health because it is getting a little low. 15 is, you know, granted only 5 less than max, but it goes away pretty quick into these Piltover decks.
Yeah. Overall, yeah.
Wait. Yeah, Hextech Handler.
Wait,
Actually, just clutch.
You have to force something onto.
Wait. Okay, wait. No. Okay, I was about to say wait. Playing the slow spell was the bad choice because now Wombats can just open for 12 damage, but they're greeting for the acceleration gate. But this is not good because now you can get the Moonlight Affliction will silence them. Will silence this 2 of the 6/3. So you have the acceleration gate will silence 2 of these, or excuse me, the Moonlight Affliction will silence 2 of these turrets, which makes them back to like a 2/1, and then Vengeance is there for another one, and then there's another Feline out here to block, but unless they're saving the Moonlight Affliction for an attacking turn, but I can't even imagine how they generate. Yeah, okay, there we go. The Moonlight Affliction. I was gonna say I don't even know how we like generate enough power for the Moonlight Affliction to be good on an attacking turn when you're about to take so much damage defending.
Yeah, we pretty much have to commit this turn because there's like if you don't commit to something like this, you're taking huge damage, and then you're pretty much just begging that there's no immediate damage towards the Nexus, which there is.
Now, surprising. Well, no, actually, no. I was gonna say I was surprised that they didn't try and kill the last one, but there wasn't enough damage. But yeah, this is actually very sad for Tempo because they've been cleared so much. After having such a strong, you know, starting lineup with the turrets and then the Hextech Handler, I think they definitely should have gone for the attack maybe before the acceleration gate. But it's neither here nor there now.
I think that the decision just ended up being because they wanted to try and force the end with that, just to be able to do more damage. But they did blow things away from Breaking Bangle. It's just that now with the Seraphine in place, it's just so hard to not be dealing with double consistently.
Yeah, and glorious evolution. There we go. That's pretty good. That's what you needed. That's gonna turn this game around. Actually, that's such a huge card to pull. And then here's the Hex Fibrillator going to try and kill that Seraphine, and not. Oh wow! Actually, just high rolling the spell generation. I didn't even see that they had the go get it. But yeah, now we see the go get it recalling Seraphine, getting 2. Yeah, 2. Wait, they created 2 Seraphines with the go get it duplication. So very, very nice.
Actually,
very good.
That's actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty convenient. You know, now you have an extra Seraphine if it gets killed, because it is going to get killed right now by this Piercing Darkness, I think. Just that Seraphine is no longer on the board, but this is definitely a tough position to be in for for Wombat's tempo.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no. At that point, it was so hard. There's so much value in the head from Vandal, and it was all super low cost. So it didn't even matter that there was no mana because he could still use it out.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's like part of the synergy of having the
Seraphine.
Acorn and having the Barkeep, having the Seraphine. Um, I mean, yeah, like I think Wombat's tempo did everything right. I don't think there's anything that they could have done differently that would have gave them that win. I think Breaking Bandle just had the answer at every turn, and Wombats are gonna go with the run back, the Hex Splitterator in hand. Nora for Breaking Bandle is a pretty good start. Oh, Nora Conchologist is a pretty good start.
Talk about a good way to start. And we both know, or they both know, or they know that there's no way that they can start with something heavy from the side of Wombats either. So they are going to pass and allow for maybe the North to finally begin to set up.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Conchologist as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now the Conchologist definitely makes sense here because the Nora doesn't necessarily have to come out just yet. It would be nice to have to get that unit generation started, but there are other ways to get through that.
I mean, they will have the time anyway, so.
And we have matching Jinx boards.
Interesting.
Do you think
Previous game.
do you think Breaking Bandle planned this after the first match to match tempo?
Yeah, because the previous game they didn't have it, so
Yeah.
it was in response. But I would have gone for, well, actually, no, yeah, I think the Jinx is good. Doesn't look that bad.
No one's playing Jinx though.
But it's the message.
The message.
It's
And
the anarchy.
wouldn't you want to use the arcane board if it's part of the message?
Now this looks
I
better.
forgot you haven't seen the movie or the show TDS, so
Exactly.
never mind.
So everything that is arcane to me is inherently bad. Until I see it, it's bad. Okay,
Wow.
that is a good
What a
sign.
high roll. The 5-1 the 5-1 quick attack bot into 2 extra units here. And wow, actually yeah, there's no clear for Vandal just yet, but they have the blockers, they have the junk collector, easy stuff to block damage to the Nexus.
There's no
Wow.
necessity to worry just yet. They did pull out the Nora early on, which not unexpected, but it is kind of early with that. But I want to talk about the fact that for Wombats this time around, they do have a good board value to start off with what they pulled up. And they also have the Hammer and Chasing Hand as well. So they can really start to set up themselves really well.
Wow, and the
Go bigger in hand as well. Nice.
that's pretty good roll from Breaking Bandle with the summons, the 4-3 and the 3-2. Definitely good starts, and I think the Mystic Shot good makes sense. That 3-2 card though is probably a really really good summon just because as you play these slow and fast spells like the Darkness or the Quietus, like the constant generation of those with the passive of that 3-2 card will eventually stack up.
Yeah. It can just
As we
end up being super effective.
as we see the Catalyzer dropped, everyone's
There's Hammer.
most dreaded card. Yeah, there's a Quietus.
As soon as the Hammer came out, as soon as it came down.
Yeah. Well, that's what both teams are waiting for. They're just holding on to their Quietus because they both know that both teams have 2 power champions. So
It's on the script of the game. Whenever one comes down, you have your Quietus for it.
okay, now that M3 Apex turret coming out, we got 2 of those. So with that though, we do also have a Forge Worker summon and the Glorious Evolution. Glorious Evolution could be big. We saw it last game as sort of like the tipping point, what sent Breaking Bandle over the edge. It could be very, very important here for Wombat's tempo.
Really well the difference maker. So if we get to that opportunity to use it and see how effective it is, more than likely it's going to work out great. They are coming down Interesting. I'm not necessarily because I'm against it, but because of any potential clear that you may be scared of, as the Veigar putting it out so early, kind of surprising.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, you have the catalyzer out. You don't need to necessarily worry about the stacking the damage just yet. Like if the catalyzer can find an easy block onto the 1/1 and then another strike. But yeah, you're just asking the quietest.
Are you new?
And there
Where
it
are you
went.
from?
The Veigar dies, and a good attack here coming from the side of Wombat's tempo, forcing the block out. I'm not sure if you're even necessary to block this sort of attack, but it's going to get blocked, it's going to miss out on some units, and it's going to deal some damage to Breaking Bandle.
Yeah, I think what Breaking Bandle is trying to avoid is like they saw the acceleration gate get used. They saw like the power about to hit, and like they luckily had a way around it. But like they don't want Wombat's Temple to have a powerful board that has Fearsome, that has Quick Attack, that has potentially another keyword if Jace is able to double it. Because a wide board with those things is definitely very bad for a Darkness deck. The Darkness deck is
Yeah.
just like more like not for blocking. It's not made to block big attacks. It's made to just, whittle down with spells.
Yeah, that would make sense,
Mhm.
honestly.
Now, do you play, depending on what Breaking Bandle does here, do you play the Glorious Evolution? Do you play?
Isn't that a bit too early, though?
It's never too early for the Glorious Evolution. Another brilliant design. Now we see the Pharaoh's Financier. Hextech Anomaly might be busted. Hextech Anomaly might be a really good card here. Just because of the potential high roll for it. Oh, they chose the Harrowing. Harrowing's still good.
Understandable, yes. I was thinking Hextech maybe could be an interesting option as well, but Herring makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Harrowing is definitely a very strong card that like is going to guaranteed be the Harrowing every turn, whereas the Anomaly could just, cycle back in and out of like something that's useful versus something that just like sucks. And now we see the Forge Workers being coming out. Definitely going wide again. Now that should be the level up for Jace. The only question is like, oh, there's so much clear from Bandle. This is just like the pain of playing against a darkness deck. There is the vengeance, there
Clear
is the
Armor.
mini morph, there is the darkness. Just a rough time.
Yeah, it's a deck that is designed to do this sort of things, but once again, we're waiting. We were ready for this sort of just huge clears and not allowing to do a lot for both sides.
Yeah, like it is sort of just like the waiting game. Like
Yeah.
who will run out of momentum first? And by momentum I mean fear spells in their hand because Breaking Bandle has, the vengeance, the mini morph, the quietest, the Shadow Isles Tellstones, which can turn into a crumble, all that fun stuff. But Wombat Tempo also has double piercing darkness, harrowing.
Like there is good clear or good potential clear on the side of Wombats as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how effective can they use it?
I think they can use it pretty well because like there's only 2 units in Breaking Bandle's hand and 1 unit left on the board. Like if you like really wanted to, you could just let this damage go through. Now the bad thing is that the catalyzer is going to be stacking damage on the darkness, which you don't want.
Anything can be
But
splintered to its elements, even us.
No, listen to no.
all right, okay, no more young witch, no more of that. Um, So now there's only going to be one Twisted Catalyzer attack, which is good. And denying the 4 damage from the Accelerate Sentinel, good. Lifesteal, unfortunate, but there are ways around that.
Yeah, it's not like you worry much about if the Nexus is back a bit in hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're not worried about that. You're just worried about finding your...
Oh, they go for it here.
It makes sense. You know, there's nothing else to play here because you are worried about, you know, the 6 mana that Breaking Bandle has conveniently kept stocked. It's just such a difficult place because of the amount of clear that both teams have.
Yeah. Like everything can just go up in flames with how much clear there is on both sides. You really need to be careful about or ready to read the next play.
And like for Wombats, like right now you're like, oh, I want to play the Jace, I want to start winning the game, but especially for Jace, like you still need other cards. You still need to have like a wide board to use the acceleration gate effectively. You need to be able to find your shock blasts. And you can't really do any of that just because of the vengeance and the mini morph on
Breaking
Breaking
Mandals, yeah.
Bandles. Yep.
They do have a minion. That's the best thing they could hope for here. The minion.
Well, the minion's dead.
Lasted for
Veigar
long.
collected a little bit of darkness there.
Conflict, we grow.
I feel kind of bad the way that they just kill the minion like that, and it's more damage onto the Nexus from Wombats. Not still enough to be worried, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely not, especially because you have these piercing darknesses in hand, which, you know, will be a +5 regen, +5 drain to your Nexus. So, not over yet. You know, that was pretty simple damage to tank if you're Wombats. But the problem is, like, again, both teams are sitting here waiting for the other one to play their important cards so that they can play their clear.
It's just a waiting game. It's what
It is
everyone was waiting for to see. It's the waiting game.
waiting, waiting, commiserating. Say it's not so, I
We have
will
to be
not
careful. We
go.
cannot get copyrighted.
Hey, if they want to copyright my awful singing, I will be expecting
I feel like they
royalties.
do. I feel like they would do. They would do it just for the sake of copywriting.
This is the cutting edge of
It's a live performance TDS. They can't copyright it.
There's nothing a little
Just watch and
ingenuity
see.
can't fix.
We will have a copyright next time we stream.
Yep, but we finally see the Jace come down into the
And the
instant
vengeance.
vengeance. Do 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 do. Bow.
Replicating the power spike.
There we see the
Interesting use of tech.
progress day being played. The 5 power mini. You ever think you'd see that? And we're gonna overdraw here, actually.
Okay.
We didn't overdraw the Heimerdinger. We did it. We did it. We didn't overdraw the Heimerdinger. Now, what we really needed was the Heimerdinger on board to watch those double progress days. Ooh. Give it all. That could be fun. Give it all could be a cool card. You know, once you finally summon that Hex T-Hex, grow them all to 8/8 or more if you're
It's an awesome day for progress.
already got a 7/1 minion on the board.
But it's fine. There's another glorious evolution for it.
Now, is the goal here to just keep reducing the cost of your cards?
Well, zero cost cards are always great, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true. They're always great. They're always great. Now, counterpoint to that, I don't think Jace is doubling the cost or doubling the shock blast and the acceleration gates anymore. because they are 5 cost,
Yeah,
which is bad. Which is
true.
the whole point of Jace is he duplicates cards. So long as they are expensive enough.
It's going to be an 8 in 1 attack from the minion. Holy.
If only there wasn't a Vile Feast that's about to be played right now.
I think you have to play it, yeah. You have to go for it. This minion cannot be allowed to attack.
He's too powerful to be left alive.
Pretty much. He's the minion that is hitting the nexus where everyone else is dead. And it's
The
just waiting
Winion.
for the minion for that is waiting for his moment to finally shine. You cannot allow him to shine.
Yeah. No backdooring here. What are we waiting for? I guess they're just waiting for the attack to commit. And then now we Vile Feast. See,
Yep.
but we could have Vile Feasted before and had the Spiderling to block.
It's
Oh,
3 damage though. Do you
it's
really worry
okay.
about that block?
I mean, no. No, this game's gonna go
Exactly.
on. This game's gonna go on another 10 turns, so that 3 damage that you ate, not worried too much about it. Now I am curious about what the power of the darkness is. The darkness could be good. Because
I don't think we've
there
seen
is
effective use
Destined
of
Ada.
darkness though.
Hmm?
I don't think we've seen effective use of darkness just yet.
Well, there is the Destined Ada, which is going to make the next darkness target every card on the board or every enemy, which pretty strong if you ask me. But the Hextech Handler comes out, gives everyone an additional
Gonna be a long night. I'll put on some coffee.
gives everyone an additional health and power. And here we see the Destined Ada into the darkness. Woo!
It finally came through.
Destined Ada into your casual ruination. As we
They're
see
going to die.
the Hex Splitterator being used here. Now the problem is that I think the Drain, the Piercing Darkness still works on Vagar, but you gotta kill the Vagar when the Vagar drops, because you don't want Darkness targeting your Nexus.
Yeah, you're losing way too much clear that you need.
Mm-hmm. And then there's another. Okay, there's another Ixtali
Sentinel.
Sentinel, thank you, excuse me. You could hypothetically go Ixtali Sentinel into Vagar into whatever you want, but no, instead we're gonna see the Harrowing coming out, and this could actually be pretty big because you're gonna get the Jace revive, you're gonna get the 8-1 minion! 8-1 minion!
I'm glad we're not going to see it again.
No, we're gonna get the Jace, we're gonna get the 8-1 minion, we're gonna get the other strong stuff like the Hex Tech, whatever the heck that was. Oh, the minion's not 8 power though. Oh well. Unfortunately, there's no mana for the acceleration gate, so this is good. This is gonna have to just be a big attack.
The elements
But
are
with
united
this,
in the dead.
what do you do? You have to challenge, you have to challenge the lifesteal card early, get it out of the way so it doesn't heal back up mid-fight so you don't kill. But this
Still a
is
lot
rough.
of damage.
No, it is still a ton of damage. 14 damage is huge, leaves you with 6 health. The problem is finding, finding a method of converting that into Nexus damage. Now, the way you convert that into Nexus damage is the Vagar, because the Vagar comes down, you Shock Blast into the Nexus twice with your 13 mana. That's 6 damage into the Nexus, and there's, I don't think any counterplay, so... The only problem
There
is that
shouldn't be a...
you have to live through a single darkness to your Nexus, which I'm gonna be real, I don't think you do. Oh wow! Wait, they played the Extali Sentinel. They didn't play the Darkness.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Oh, I guess there's nothing to target. So, smart on the Wombats for not playing a unit. So yeah, what you do is you Shock Blast and then you Shock Blast again. So that's it. That's game.
They did it. I think.
No, I think this is it. There's no
Like,
heal.
it's just
There's
that
no
they got
healing.
level up and then they have the next one, yeah.
Yeah, there's no healing
be
here. There's no healing anymore.
Took us quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Really, really long game, but they did it.
Marathon. Good old
Which-
marathon.
Means that we're getting the Veigar. Sorry, I'm kind of blanking right now because of how long that was, but it's Veigar.
Veigar, Nora Veigar
Veigar
versus...
Nona against the Timo, Zoe, Nora.
Let's go. I'm actually looking forward to this. I want something to mix it up, and the Zoe is potentially that.
My only hope is
So-
that it doesn't go as long as this one did. That's all I'm waiting for. Which,
don't-
with so many low-cost cards anyway, I don't
TDS,
think it's...
I want to remind you that is still not the longest game we've casted.
That is true. We did. Was it the Cillian Echo?
I don't think it was that one. I want to say it was like a...
maybe.
What is it? What was the...
Because that was long.
We've casted some long games, TDS. But that was
That is true.
not the longest. So we are still doing good in that department, at least. As
Yeah,
you
it could have
see,
been worse in that sense.
Yeah, we could have still been in that game. It very easily could have gone longer if there weren't
Yeah.
the harrowing into double Shock Blast. But we are into the final match between Wombat's Tempo and Breaking Bandle. The mulligans have been done. We're on to turn 2 already. And actually pretty good hands from both teams. You know, we got the Junk Collector, we got the Conchologist and Breaking Bandle, we got the Pokestick, the Vile Feast, the Quietus, all cards you want early. And then Wombat's Tempo, you have all the cards you need to really like ramp this game up. You know, you have the Night Stalker, the Esmus, the Flight, the Shepherd, all cards to really turn this game into something big through the elusive and equipment.
And there's the Zoe as well, so it's a good way. It's a good way to just set yourself up as a Wombat.
Yeah, and you know, like, oof. The only problem I think, and it's you know what we've said all night, is you know you can't play the Zoe. You can't play the Zoe because there's so much crap that clears it instantly.
Yep. Like legitimately, there's a lot of things that will destroy you just the moment you play it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's rough. It's a rough life out here for these weak cards, these weak champions, and Quietus honestly didn't make it any better for them, but you know it was much needed, I think, because these weaker champions are making huge strides. Like they're among the strongest in the game. And now we're seeing that elusive power coming through, you know.
But some of the clear was used there, so you could actually play the Zoe right now.
Was the Quietus used? Oh, well, no. As long as
No,
the
not
Quietus,
yet. No.
as long as the Quietus is there, you can't really play the Zoe. You need to wait for Oh, right now! Wait! No! No, right now! You waited for it right now! Okay, this can still work out. This can still... You have to play the Shepherd onto the Zoe. Wait, no! Wait! I would have played the Shepherd onto the Zoe first. But that's just me. Because now, Quietus can still come out. Quietus can still hit the Zoe right now.
But
Whereas
there
if
are
you...
two Zoes in hand.
I know there are two Zoes in hand, and this one hasn't seen anything. So yeah, okay. But there's still another Quietus.
There's still
There's,
a bit,
there's.
yeah.
Okay, wait. No. Okay, wait. Yeah, you have to improvise and high roll turning the Zoe into a 3-power unit. That was the high roll. Was to. Oh wait, no. Yeah, improvise. They let you through. They let you through. Yes, Shepherd's Authority. Shepherd's Authority. Okay, wait. That's huge. That's huge. Huge, huge, huge. Now this Zoe is arguably very safe. Very, very safe. You know, only thing that could ruin it now is the mini morph, but the mini morph will just turn it into a 6-4 mini T. But
Which is not necessarily bad. Just
Huh?
saying. It's not necessarily bad.
no, it's definitely not bad right now. And we're gonna see some interesting. Oh, okay, more Quietus. You take more Quietus here, I think.
Why
Or
not,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you kill the Esmus? Kill. Oh yeah, destroy the equipment and then kill the Zoe with the other Quietus. Because you know you have 3 of them. Ooh.
You have every bit of body for it. Nice.
The messenger. The messenger. You need draw. You need draw. You already have elusive. You need draw.
It's elusive.
What? You already have elusive. You need draw. You need more units because you are going to lose a lot of them. Because
Honestly,
the
for a
big-
deck that I think that needs a lot of draw and a lot of, or should desire a lot of draw, I'm surprised you don't opt for the draw.
Yeah, I mean, I think draw is definitely like the way to go for this deck, just because like you need to have more ways to save the Zoe, and I think you need to attack with the 4/4 Shepherd here because there's nothing that can really kill it right now, and like there's nothing that's going to threaten you because the Breaking Banner is not going to attack with the Vagar. Even if there wasn't a unit that could kill the Vagar, Vagar's not going to attack. But maybe they're saving it for the Extali Sentinel.
Do you save it? Do you really save it for the Extala Sentinel? Like, I just think you could have just forced it in the previous one.
Mhm.
Would have been much nicer to see. The Extali now maybe can salvage a lot of health, or a lot now, but a part of health from Breaking Vandal and try and just play it so that you can finally try and get Darkness going.
Okay, we're gonna see Invoke. Moonglow. I think Moonglow. Moonglow onto the Zoe.
Yeah, Moonglow seems so good.
Moonglow onto the Zoe. Yes, yes. Very nice. Very nice. All right, yeah. That's the way to go. Because now you're spell shielded against the mini morph, everyone's favorite card, and the Quietus. And they're gonna see a darkness consume the spell shield immediately, because you need to be able to mini morph the Zoe before she hits the level up.
Yeah,
Wow,
you
and-
cannot allow for this Zoe to get going.
And that is Zoe's because the darkness is already at 5 damage. Darkness is already like 5 damage.
So wait. I'm not sure if you want to do that. You have one more Zoe and that's it.
Well, no, the part of the problem is that you have only one more Zoe, but then if you use the 2 cost to stun, you don't get the paddle star until after you can be quietest by the Breaking Bandle. You're gonna quietest the Zoe. You won't be able to play the paddle star because you're going to be what? They're playing into Breaking Bandle turn because now the quietest comes out. Quietest kills the Zoe. Why? Why are they
Okay.
passing? Just kill the Zoe. You benefit at every turn that you kill the Zoe. There is 0 downside from killing the Zoe. Am I incorrect in that statement? Like,
I don't want to call out just yet, but there is a Designator, and now with Darkness, it should be a pretty good clear. Yeah.
I suppose. But like,
I think this should be it for Bando.
No, this is it. I think this is the game because that was 7 damage, right? And then now you're going to see the
Yep.
surrender. Wow, they're not even going to test it. Yep, not even going to try. That
It's
well,
just too much
understandable.
damage.
Understandable. There was that Destin Ada, basically turning a darkness into a ruination
Yeah.
was too much to handle. And I mean, I definitely went off a little hard on protecting the Zoe, but it was a little too out of hand at that point. I was gonna bring up like the Veigar's been on board. The Veigar's making these darknesses very strong, and the one thing that's lacking, I think, in the Nora Teemo Zoe deck is clear. Like there's not too
There's
much
not that
going
much.
on, and Veigar being 1/4 without Quietus is like a very safe card if you don't
Yeah.
have clear. And it paid off for Bandle, or excuse me, Breaking Bandle. So they were able to take that one home after some long games. They were pretty long. But no, overall a very well played series.
Really nicely played overall. Like both, like the three decks the three matches that we saw. I mean, really competitive. They both teams really wanted to do things that were kind of clear, but obviously the other team wasn't going to let them. That's why the game took so long, because there was always those small mind games or not allowing the opponent to really draw you into a bad spot. And obviously we also had a lot of spell cards and a lot of cards that needed time to ramp up. That's why it felt like that. But at the end, I think both teams played really great, and Breaking Bandle taking the win in a really effective manner, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it just goes to show like there is so much variety just because like everyone brought something different. I think
Yeah.
overall throughout the whole night there's not too many chances for a mirror matchup, and it goes to show that these players have mastery over everything because they aren't like confused when something minor happens in the meta. Like they are very able to easily and able to transition to something that like was completely different, like totally different from what was being played before. So definitely well played. A good showing from both teams. Congratulations to Breaking Bandle, obviously, for winning the a
The
collaborative
match.
match.
Yeah.
And I think, do we have an interview, Wookie? No interview. No interview. So that
No
will be it
interviews.
for us. Anything else you want to finish off with, TDS?
Uh, Great matches tonight. Good luck to everyone that is playing tomorrow. If I'm not wrong, yeah. Good luck to everyone that is playing
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, Worlds is
I,
tomorrow.
exactly.
Announcements. If you didn't know, Worlds is tomorrow for Legends of Runeterra. EMEA is canceled. Whatever Aegis was doing tomorrow for Legends of Runeterra is canceled.
Yeah.
Postponed to a later date because of Worlds, because there are players in both competitions that are
Exactly.
playing, and Worlds obviously takes precedent in that. So good luck everyone that's playing tomorrow in Worlds. I know you'll need it. It's going to be a very, very tough, rigorous competition. But that will be it for us. So sorry, TDS. Anything else? That's it.
No, it was mainly that. Like, good luck to
All
everyone.
right. Well,
Enjoy the tournament. Play well.
that will be it for us here for this week's coverage of Aegis Esports Legends of Runeterra League. I'm Domcast. I've been joined by TDS, and we'll see you next time.